Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another episode of Blasphemers Bible. And we are still working on Job. It's a hard job. Somebody's got to do it.
That's what they say.
And any opening comments?
Do I see a Lalandra?
You do.
Hi!
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if we were revealing that.
Oh, sorry.
Arn said that y'all be shorthanded, so I joined.
Oh,
Yep.
Thank you so much. I am ducking out in an hour, so we have to get as much angst into the first hour as possible. Otherwise, I won't feel that I've sufficiently blasphemed God this week.
Yeah.
And we can't have that.
Yeah,
It has
Lilith
been
was only
since-
going to be here part of the time, apparently, and we couldn't get Chrissy here at all. So I asked my wife to please join us. So thank you for coming aboard.
It took from Leviticus 14 to 15 for you to join up again.
Thanks,
I
Tomer.
have complete faith in Lalandra to represent the women who have escaped faith.
All right. So do we have any opening commentary, or do we dive into it?
I think we should just dive into it, honestly.
Yeah,
These two
basically,
chapters are
Eliphaz.
more
I think
complicated.
it's Eliphaz who continues his speech, right?
Yeah, we have one chapter of Eliphaz continuing, and then Job's reply
In 6.
in another chapter. Yeah.
In
The
chapter
next
6, I
chapter.
think.
The Temanite. Sounds
All right,
a
then.
lot like term.
Job 5.
Eliphaz. Yeah, I mean, we discussed about the Teman, which is, modern Teman is like Yemen, but like I think
Yeah.
it is like I think if I remember correctly, it's like around the Arabian Peninsula, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the according to the commentators who tried to place all of these things happening nearby each other, they like to put it somewhere like in like the Jordan, I think, or like Edom or Aram. I don't remember exactly.
It gives
But
the
yeah.
feel of, if you've ever read the book version of The Princess Bride, and it talks about, this was before Europe, but after Paris. And like, just the, but not before this and before that. And it was just, it's very, like, there are real references to places, but the world in which it exists has no relationship to anything real. And the timeline is
Okay.
fuzzy.
All right, so to begin reading. Call if you will, but who will answer you? To which of the holy ones will you turn? Resentment kills a fool, and envy slays the simple. I myself have seen a fool taking root, but suddenly his house was cursed. His children are far from safety, crushed in court without a defender. The hungry consume his harvest, taking it even from among thorns, and the thirsty pant after his wealth. For hardship does not spring from the soil, nor does trouble sprout from the ground. Yet man is born to trouble, as surely as sparks fly upward. But if I were you, I would appeal to God. I would lay my cause before him. He performs wonders that cannot be fathomed, miracles that cannot be counted. That's how we never got past 0 in counting miracles. Anyway, he
Did they have
provides
0?
rain for the earth. He sends water on the countryside. The lowly he sets on high, and those who mourn are lifted to safety. He thwarts the plans of the crafty, so that their hands achieve no success. He catches the wise in their craftiness, and the schemes of the wily are swept away. Darkness comes upon them in the daytime. At noon they grope as in the night. He saves the needy from the sword in their mouth. He saves them from the clutches of the powerful. So the poor have hope, and injustice shuts its mouth. Blessed is the one whom God corrects. So do not despise the discipline of the Almighty. For he wounds, but he also binds up. He injures, but his hands also heal. From 6 calamities he will rescue you. In 7 no harm will touch you. In famine he will deliver you from death. And in battle, from the stroke of the sword, you will be protected from the lash of the tongue. and need not fear when destruction comes. You will laugh at destruction and famine, and need not fear the wild animals, for you will have a covenant with the stones of the field, and the wild animals will be at peace with you. You will know that your tent is secure. You will take stock of your property and find nothing missing. You will know that your children will be many, and your descendants like the grass of the earth. You will come to the grave in full vigor, like sheaves gathered in season. We have examined this, and it is true. So hear it and apply it to yourself.
I call bullshit.
Well, yeah. And here's the thing that I've noticed about quite a lot of Hebrew literature or poetry, I guess I'll put it that way. It's there's a lot of ways of saying the exact same thing.
Yeah,
As
they've
with
always gone with rhyming
as with anything else in
concepts.
poetry, like
See, this is why I don't like poetry. But specifically,
Heathen. Barbarian.
cope.
Cope. Listen,
Yes.
this shit is boring.
You don't know.
I
You
didn't
don't
say
know
this
Hebrew.
shit isn't boring. This shit is definitely boring. But poetry as a whole,
No, I
Listen.
also think that's boring. Anyways, so that my
and
own
that's
gripes,
why you don't get laid.
I don't get laid for lots of reasons. Okay, Lilith. My own personal gripes with all extant poetry aside.
Poetry was made to woo women.
You
Song
know
of
what?
Songs.
Good
Yes.
for poetry. Hello, Kitty. So there are. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you guys have noticed that even if this is your first time reading through this, I am sure that putting this in the right context, like as long as you're not thinking of everything super literally, it absolutely is like, oh yeah, they're talking about the exact same thing. About you have to, like, even from the very beginning of this, right? Like, who are you gonna turn to? The holy ones, right? What is it? The
Kedoshim.
Kedoshim. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. So even that is like from the very beginning, that you kind of also get this sense of hopelessness, where it's like you're gonna ask these guys, they can't do anything. So yeah, it's you have to go directly to God, and then it's a whole bunch of ways of saying that.
Yeah, I mean, all this claim that God protects the righteous and that he brings calamity upon the wicked. And don't get me wrong, that would be fucking fantastic. The world would be a very different place.
And this whole thing
It's-
about using poetry to woo women, all I can think of is John Belushi smashing a guitar.
Okay, you know what? Men who want to get laid, get a pen and a piece of paper. John Donne, not his later poetry, his early poetry. Look up To His Mistress on Going to Bed. If that can't get you laid, I can't help you. Now,
How do people who read the Bible as literal understand Job in the sense of the discourse that's happening between the characters? Like,
I mean,
do they think they literally spoke like this? This is just
here's
like,
the thing.
Pretty
Here's
much.
the
they were
thing.
good friends and poets.
From what I understand, right, when people say they take the Bible literally, they still have some methodology of knowing what's literal and what's not. If something says it's an allegory, for example, or a parable, then obviously it's a parable, right? The parables in
I
the
wish that
Gospels
was true.
literally say, "This is a parable. Hear me speak another parable."
yeah, I wish that was true. It is not always true.
Damn,
I have
yes.
absolutely heard sermons of pastors saying that some of Jesus' parables literally were true. Like,
You're a good
So-
Samaritan.
yeah.
So wait, but so when Jesus says that he's a door, is he actually a door?
well, I don't
believe
know. Is he
is
unhinged?
a door. Yes.
Yes, he is a door. Okay, it confirmed. He's a door.
He is a door as long as he's not a jar.
Well, they tried to nail him, and he just didn't fit into the frame. So, but truth be told, literally usually just means they can use it to be assholes to whomever they wish to be assholes to, and there's always lots and lots of justification in the Bible. One of the better versions you could take from this as a, from a scripturally literal background is the fact that at the end of this, God says that these guys are wrong, that they did not speak the truth of him as his servant Job did. So you can argue that this says God does not consistently reward good and punish evil in this world, which is an important thing to note, because otherwise you start blaming people when trouble comes to them and say, oh, you must have angered God, you must have done something wrong. So you end up with good people in a difficult situation with no support, trying to figure out what they did wrong, and horrible evil people doing all the cruel things in the world, getting everything they want and saying, I guess God approves of it. Let's go yeet another baby off a cliff.
So what's the verdict on this chapter? Literal or not literal?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, it's literal,
just-
and yes,
this is
it's
just-
not literal.
This is just how people used to speak. They're just
Yeah.
Of course.
No, they
Yeah.
Oh, did you not know that everyone in Shakespeare's day spoke in iambic pentameter?
The
Okay,
point
so
appears to be that he rewards the righteous, but then see what he does to Job, who he brags about how righteous he is. Like, he kills his whole family.
I don't know
But
if
he
this
gets
is
a
me.
one. But
Yeah, but this part is Elihu's argument, which is, according to God later in the book, this guy's wrong. So this is a case where, according to the Bible, this is wrong. This is incorrect. This is the wrong thing in canon. Although it's kind of funny because I've noticed a lot of very quotable moments from Job in the parts that people are supposed to know is the bad part, the other guy's talking, and you're supposed to be like, this isn't how it works, and people are quoting those parts.
I noticed a comment that said it's literally a metaphor, but I disagree. It's metaphorically literal.
I mean, to be fair, there is like one way you could look at it. Eliphaz is trying to say, like, if you believe that God is the one who has put you in this position, has punished you, then as someone who believes that, then you should also think that he's doing it for a reason. I don't know if he's saying that all good things happen to good people, and or good things only happen to good people, bad things only happen to bad people.
But
I think
that
he's
is
trying
what
to say, like, you
what
shouldn't
he's
complain.
saying is that God brings trouble upon the evil, and like he goes through all these examples of, we have witnessed this, yada 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 yada.
Yeah.
okay,
haven't
so
found
I'll start.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand the last bit where he's like, we have seen this or whatever. Like,
Inezot
You've
hakavuna
inquired
kenhi
into it.
shema'ena
yeah,
atadarecha.
who's he saying we?
It's the same
Hine-
message as the rest of the book. If you just make believe that everything will be wonderful, if you don't
Oh.
make believe, then bad things will happen to you.
Well, and obviously bad things happen to you, so you must have upset the make-believe man.
Well, that's kind of the point of the book, is how can bad things happen to good people? And the fact that, like, there's
Let me
no, like,
count the
there's no
ways.
good answer.
No,
so-
even God
so, like-
doesn't give an answer. He just says, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but like, shit happens. Like, you just gotta have faith, buddy. Like,
God plays with dice.
God, what's an old way of saying something like that, Arn? What's an old way of saying something like that?
What would I know about the old ways?
Yeah, more than you think. Like, cheer up. like, I don't know.
Giddy
Give
up.
me like some old timey way to say that. I'm sure you
Stiff up
know.
a lip.
It's like some parent killing your puppy.
Be a bit more gay.
Killing your puppy and saying, you better listen to me and believe what I'm doing is for your own good. And then look, here's another puppy. So it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't.
That is definitely the vibe.
By the way, Landra, your internet is bad. It
It's
sounds
very
robotic.
robotic.
Yeah.
It might be that you have background noise removal or echo cancellation checked in StreamYard. You might want to uncheck that. That might help.
That does
Okay.
not sound like echo cancellation. That does not sound like a noise gate or anything like that.
It could just be a problem with your microphone, just whichever you check the settings and all that jazz. But anyway, where were we? We were at the we have examined this, and it is true. So the whole collective of humanity has decided that God decides that good people get good things and bad people get bad things.
Or maybe it could refer to the three friends.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Maybe, but
Yeah, but they
You
are
seem to be
elders in their
talking on it.
community, aren't they?
No, but the point is that they are the ones who like give wisdom, right? So,
yeah, I wasn't sure like if he was talking on behalf of himself only, or was he like saying like, us three are coming with the same opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see. Danger Man 1973 offers $1.99 and says Jesus Christ is not a king, he's a cuckoo.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
Okay.
I'm just wondering how many Bible scholars will agree with cuckoo. That's a neat choice of words. I say faith healing fraud. And then we have Burnt Gummer 6969 offers $10 and says happy Saturday, good people here.
I guess.
Where are you going?
Okay. I'll start with verse 1. To which of the holy ones will you turn? Hebrew for holy ones is Mikedoshim. Seow comments, quote, the holy ones refers to divine beings, members of the divine council, as in Psalms 89:6 and 8, which is 5 and 7 in the Old Testament, Zechariah 14:5. Septuagint interprets the term to mean angelon hagion, holy angels, but angelion is marked in Syro-Hexapla as an addition to the Hebrew text. Medieval Jewish interpreters, too, frequently understood the term to refer to angels, but Ibn Ezra takes it to refer to humans. Aramaic kadishim is used to refer to members of the divine council, as we see in Daniel 4:10 and 14. Sometimes the term kedoshim is a virtual synonym of God, so in Hosea 12:1, which is 11:12, kedoshim parallels El, and in Proverbs 9:10, da'at kedoshim, knowledge of the holy ones, parallels yirat Yehovah, fear of Yahweh. This does not mean, however, that kedoshim is an epithet of God here, so Erlich, Godis, and Vachari. For Job speaks elsewhere of his holy ones, quote unquote, referring to God's celestial hosts. So Eliphaz in 15:15.
I think it's worth pointing out that are you okay, Aaron?
Sorry, what?
Sorry. I was afraid that the snake was around your neck again.
Perfectly
You
fine.
did nearly.
Much too small to do any real damage.
Oh, fair
And
enough.
she's just running and playing. It's perfectly fine.
Okay, maybe your hair got caught, but you were making the face, and now I've completely lost my point. Damn it! Your danger noodle is too distracting.
My apologies. Which reminds me, I don't know if I'm going to be here, not next week, but the week after that, because
Snake Appreciation Day.
yeah, my wife wants to go to a Snake Appreciation Day in Austin. And
See that, Lalandra? He's blaming you.
You notice how careful he said that?
Yeah, and Lawrence suggested that I actually run a show from the Snake Show.
I did not suggest that.
Yes, you did.
I'm
That
sure
was
we
not
got a
me
couple
who
shorts
suggested
of him
that.
walking the
That was
snakes.
me, Arn. That was me.
Okay. All right. Well, then never mind. But I might do.
Okay,
See how
on
that-
verse on verse 3, I myself have seen a fool taking root. Hebrew for taking root is mashrish, a reading favored by Septuagint, Vulgate, and Targum. This word is usually understood to mean to be successful, as attested in Peshitta, and favored by Rashbam and Kara. Tur-Sinai related the word to the Arabic sharisa, meaning to be irritable, ill-natured, and morose. And so takes mashrish to mean angry, i.e., I have seen an ill-tempered, angry fool. Seow, however, notes that such a meaning of shoresh is unique in Northwest Semitic, and that Tur-Sinai does not take into account the fact that the form is causative. Instead, he writes that the metaphor suggests initial thriving, though the faith of the plant is not assured.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Sorry. I just, in the previous verse when we were talking about the hosts of heaven, it's worth pointing out that this is not monotheism. This is henotheism at best. Like, God is supreme, but there are lots and lots of, it's a heavenly council. You know, there are lots of, so this is not proper monotheism yet. Even
Never.
though it, well,
it's one of the parts that were easy to adapt to monotheism by just saying, oh, it's just angels.
yeah.
Yeah. And just like
Yeah.
removing power from angels and making them just like offshoots of the one God instead of having sort of like power over parts of nature or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, on 4 through 5, Habel comments, quote, the city gate where Eliphaz has seen the downfall of the fool is the social arena for legal and commercial matters to be handled. In the gate, justice was to be guaranteed, as we've seen Proverbs 22:22, Deuteronomy 21:19 through 21, and Ruth 4:1 through 11. There, Job himself had upheld justice for the underprivileged, 31:21. Job was no fool. The fool, by virtue of his passion, jeopardizes his chance for justice. Eliphaz apparently sees Job on the verge of such folly. Job, however, will go to any lengths to establish justice for himself before a higher court than the city gate, as we see in 31:35-37. In verse 5, in view of the mythological allusion to the sons of Reshef in verse 7, it is plausible that Ra'av, the hungry one, is not a reference to a social group, but a designation of death, or mot, or destruction as the hungry one. Compare 18:12-13 and Deuteronomy 32:24, where Reshef and the hungry one are associated. Ugaritic mythology, Ugaritic mythology testifies to the insatiable appetite of Mot, or death, and his helpers. The thirsty ones and thorns are apparently related forces of devastation associated with Mot, the hungry one.
Yeah, the idea of the force of destruction being hungry is definitely an image. It's an image of the void, an image of, sea monsters, an image of the force of destruction coming to consume, and that illustration is very much in line with that mythos. But it's also something you can kind of, I see where they came up with that.
Yeah, I think I saw something. Oh.
If you've ever watched a forest fire consume things, you see where that's coming from.
Yeah. Okay, on verse 7, as surely as sparks fly upward. The Masoretic text reads, V'bnei Reshef yagbihu uf, literally, and the sons of Reshef shall fly upward. Early translations understood the Reshef to be a kind of bird, such as the Septuagint, which reads vulture, followed by Dorm, who reads eagle, or to birds in general, as we see in Vulgate and Peshitta, a reading favored by Nachmanides. This meaning is influenced by the parallel with of, flying, and to the expression Yagbia Nesher, the eagle soars, in 39:27. Others have taken Reshef to refer to flashing arrows, as we see in Rashi, Rabbeinu Tam, and Hakham, sparks, according to Ibn Ezra, Nachmanides, Gersonides, Kimchi, Ibn Kaspi, Hartley, and some versions of Targum, or to demons, according to some versions of Targum, Kara, and Ditrani. Recent commentaries, like Habel and Clines, have suggested that Reshef refers to the mythological deity in ancient Near Eastern mythology, sometimes presented as the god of pestilence. Seow notes that Reshef is typically portrayed with a bow and a quiver of arrows, and the Bible uses such imagery to refer to pestilence or disease carried by arrows, as was in Psalms 91:5, Deuteronomy 32:23-24, and Song of Songs 8:6. Thus, Bnei Reshef may mean offspring of Reshef, i.e., arrows or anything that is shot into the air. And since arrows may be a metaphor for one's progeny, as we see in Psalms 1-7, 4, and 5, B'nai Reshef could refer to the deadly issues of pestilence, perhaps diseases in the air. Tur-Sinai combines the Reshef and birds interpretation as Reshef birds, and writes that these were, quote, legendary birds of prey, end quote, who snatched the newly born child up into the air.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Lawrence, but didn't pestilence in Revelation, the rider pestilence, also carry a bow and arrow?
The rider was never pestilence. It was always conquest, because there's nothing about disease in there, but the way that it has been interpreted over time has made the association of pestilence. And that's something I did
But
want
one
to
of them definitely, I'm pretty sure that was one with the
he did
archer.
have arrows.
Yeah,
He
because
was the archer, yes.
war had a sword.
Yes. I mean, I actually did a whole thing with Mark Peralta. Is that how you say his last name?
Mark Peralta, yeah.
So he had me on his channel like a while ago where we talked about the Four Horsemen. And so the thing is, I think that the first one was a reference to the Parthians.
Could have been.
Yeah. But there was much later taken as pestilence, even though there's nothing in there about disease or dying from disease. The only ones that even suggest that there's a death from disease be when death actually comes, the final horseman.
There is actually
the color of the horse is chloros, which is like a pale, like yellow green color, and
a sickly color. Definitely.
Yeah, a very sickly color. So this would be like death from disease. That would be the only rider that has anything to do with disease.
There's also diseases or curses that cause like long-term suffering and not death in Revelation, though that's separate from the horseman bit. And it's possible that the association of the rider and the arrows had part to do with the association with pestilence later on. But then the point is, it's just, this is language of the mythos of that region with the sort of some of the themes that you would have. Obviously, we would not come up with mythical horse riders with arrows today if we were coming up with totally new stuff. They'd probably have an AR-15. Is it Jesus riding a raptor with a gun in one hand? It was that silly picture. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, there is another version of Targum, which I really like. For man was born to labor for sustenance, and burning coals of Gehenna are removed because of words of the law.
What?
Yeah.
Tomer.
Yes.
Somebody chimed in to tell me that the existence of Nazareth proves the divinity of Jesus simply because the city exists.
That's stupid.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. I told him the existence of Troy does not prove Hellenism. The existence of Memphis, Tennessee does not mean that Elvis is a god. The existence of New York does not prove either Spider-Man nor King Kong. But he doesn't understand simple logic. So he told me that this place in Israel proves that Jesus is God, and that I should go to Israel and ask a Jew. And they know, because they live in Israel, that God is real. Tomer?
I swear the logic is very difficult for these people.
They're taught to be scared of logic. They're not allowed to logic.
Right. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind to come to Israel.
Yeah, go to Israel. Meet a whole bunch of atheists.
Yes. I mean,
what percentage?
I think a lot of
what percentage is Tomer? What percentage of Israeli inhabitants, not necessarily just Jewish people, but people who live in Israel, what percentage would you say, based on your experience living there day to day, how many of them believe in God?
I mean, I think the majority does, but the thing is, it's a bit weird because there is a division between Israel's population when it comes to religion, as like the levels of how religious you are. So the usual division that you see is secular, which means that you don't really follow the Torah, or you don't really follow Jewish law. The traditionals, which they follow some laws, but they don't follow others. It's tradition, Masorati. Then
You didn't say it right. Tradition. I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. Then you have the religious. The religious also has like certain levels. You have you can have like the national religious. You can have the Haredi. It really depends. But like the thing is, you can be secular and still believe in God, and you can be traditionalist but not believe in God. So like there is a very it can be
if
very
it is
confusing.
true that the existence of Nazareth proves the divinity of Jesus, that means that all these people in Israel are Christian, not Jewish, right?
I mean, am I fucked?
Yeah. If that were the case, that is what you would expect out of the predictive power.
Would you
of this
say, Tomer,
brilliant bit of-
that most of the you say in your best estimate, most of the people in Israel are theists, and we're going to say that would be like at least 60%. You think?
I think so.
Okay,
Sounds
so of
reasonable.
those religious people, how many of them are Christian versus Jewish?
or anything
think,
else.
like-
There's also a lot of Muslims.
Yeah, I mean there are like Arab Christians as well. I think.
Well, we're not trying to distinguish different groups of Christians.
No,
just
I
wanna
think
be
I think
in
the
general.
largest. I think the largest denominator of Christians are Arab Christians.
Okay.
I don't really know. My first estimate is like 100,000, but I really don't know if that's correct.
What in percentage of the population? How many people actually believe that Jesus is a god?
2%.
2%. Thank you, Tomer.
You're welcome.
Look at Nazareth all existing right now because that's totally the same thing as it being the birthplace of Jesus. Ugh.
No.
Isaac, somehow you disappeared from the screen, and I had to manually add you back in. What happened?
I think Isaac is experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or that he's being or that Jesus.
Yeah,
tries to
the
reference-
Wi-Fi.
We get it.
When I'm at my parents for the weekend, and I'm in the loft, the Wi-Fi is not that great.
Okay,
Is it
gotcha.
cut?
You can use
Sorry.
hotspot, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay,
I've got some comments here.
Sorry.
Or I got one that I haven't read. So Tumpanis, which I probably said wrong, offers €5 and says, my name in English. In order to help with the translation, George Tumpanis. Greetings from Athens, Greece.
I think that their screen name is probably I'm guessing in Greek, but this is
Yeah.
all coming across with the user handles. So yeah, not super necessary. But even then, like if I'm guessing because he says he's in Athens, that it's in Greek, which I can read just fine. But thank you.
It's true. We do have Lawrence. He can read the Greek.
Barely. So on 9 through 16.
Hello? Excuse me? Those are fighting words. I never wanted to come to Israel until now. See you soon, Tomer.
Yeah, great. You see, that's how it's done. That's how it's done. Yeah. I'll hide in my bunker.
I
So
was gonna say I've heard of like I've heard of like ex-evangelical or Baptist, whatever, people who are like terrified of hell, like going to Israel to visit the Gehenna, to like see that it's just a nice part.
Guy
You
Ben
know,
Hinnom.
it's just this nice
name.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christianity
because
can be
you can
really
go to, like, the-
traumatizing.
Yeah. It's like you just go there. And little place outside the city. It's nice here.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so 9 through 16, Clines comments, quote, "It is quite possible that some of the elements in the doxology have no application to Job and his situation, and are found here simply because they belong to the conventional language of worship. But of the two strands that typically compose such a doxology, one, God's creative and world-sustaining activity, and two, his readjustment of the moral and social order, the latter predominates in this doxology. It is possible, in fact, that the one element in strand 1 that appears here, the giving of rain in verse 10, carries with it the overtones of strand 2, namely the role of God as reverser of fortunes. It is inconceivable that the content of the doxology is not meant to have any applicability to Job and his circumstances, apart from the general purpose of encouraging Job to turn himself toward God. It seems much more plausible that it is precisely the image of God as the reverser of fortunes that is intended by Eliphaz to appeal to Job. In using the doxological form, Eliphaz can avoid any specific promises to Job, and especially any indication of how long he may expect his suffering to last. No doubt there is not much else that Eliphaz can do, and it cannot hurt Job, though it may well irritate him, to be reminded of the ability and tendency of God to reverse situations of distress."
Got a
Yes.
couple more comments to read. Shut up, Matt says, Aaron, of course Nazareth exists. It's been a while since their last album, though. And then Reimer's Brigery says, Aaron, what does Pennsylvania have to do with Israel? Is there a Nazareth, Pennsylvania?
I mean, if there is a, what is it? Oh shit, I forgot. Sorry, no, I forgot. No, there is Nazareth.
Be a lot older before you start having these moments.
No. I remember there is like a certain place in there. I mean, there are a lot of places in Israel that are also in the U.S., at least name-wise. Like,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they take a lot of names for the, new whatever, and they were trying to be religious about it.
Where I lived in Arizona was near Texas Canyon, and now that I live in Texas, there's a place called Arizona City.
Isn't there?
I mean, there is there is Bethlehem in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Right? Bethlehem and Egypt as well.
There's a Palestine.
I could swear there's
In
a place
Palestine
called
in Ohio,
Babylon in
yeah.
the US too.
Babylon?
I'm pretty sure.
I think Lalander's mic is low.
Yeah, it's in New York. Yeah, Babylon, New York.
Can
Yeah,
you hear me now?
Barely.
barely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you are very quiet, but at least you're not robotic.
Okay.
But there is an echo though.
Oh, I didn't hear an echo. I mean, how can you hear an echo when it's so quiet?
I
Fair
mean,
point.
I'm a musician.
Lalandra, please say something more.
Something more?
No, that is very quiet. We need to adjust your sound somehow. Peter, can you turn her up? Peter?
Try again, Lilandra.
Test.
There you go. That's
Better.
better.
Okay, that's better. That's better.
Yes.
Alright.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, Tomer, finish up, please.
Yes. Verse 17. Seow comments, quote, "The new stanza is signaled by the particle hine, behold." Lawrence. Eliphaz goes beyond the doxology to proffer a perspective on divine will. He begins with a macarism, that is, a beatitude. Ironically, though, the fortunate thing in
Beatitude?
this case, beatitude, sorry.
Beatitude, yeah.
Beatitude.
Yeah, just like every other English word that's spelled that way.
Yes. Beat.
At beat, yes. This.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's really dumb.
Yes. Ironically, though, the fortunate thing in this case is suffering, which is viewed as divine reproof and discipline. The language and the sentiment echo Proverbs 3:11-12. Quote, "Do not reject the discipline of Yahweh, my son, do not reject his reproof." It is a teaching affirmed in the New Testament. Quote, "The Lord disciplines those whom he loves," end quote, in Hebrews 12:6. Underlying such sayings is the assumption in antiquity that teaching and learning inevitably involve pain, as we see in Proverbs 13:24, 20:30, 22:15, 23:13-14. Indeed, the Egyptian terms for teach and teaching are written with a determinative, specifically a hieroglyph of a man holding a rod. Thus, Eliphaz maintains God's discipline, born of love, likewise entails pain. Sadomasochism. The ancient Israelites accepted that premise. They prayed only that whatever suffering they had to bear would not be on account of sheer divine anger, as we see in Psalm 6:2, which is 1 in the Old Testament, and 38:2, which is 1. Suffering may ironically be a salutary thing, and Eliphaz's ironic beatitude anticipates the ironic beatitudes of Jesus, who declared that the poor in spirit, the meek, those who mourn, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, and those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake are indeed fortunate, in Matthew 5:3-11.
I sympathize with you, Tomer, because there were years of my life when I read that as beatitudes.
Yeah. English is fun, isn't it?
Let's not give Tomer more reasons to be angry at English, or we'll be here all day just on that alone. But that is actually something that believers are taught to do, and not just Christians. This is true. I know it's true in Islam, and it's probably true in a different way in Judaism.
I know how it is true in different ways. Hey.
Stop it, you. Now, no, but this idea that if you're having difficulty and God isn't punishing you, one of the things you can decide to believe is that he is disciplining you for your own good, of course. And then you are to love that discipline, because that means God loves you, because if he didn't love you, he wouldn't spend the time to correct you and cause you this pain so that you could learn your lesson.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is a very healthy way to feel you are relating to the divine.
Yeah. Like every time my stepdad would take off his belt and show me how he can snap the belt together, and he's going to discipline me for my own good.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't build resentment or anything.
Oh, that reminds.
Oh, it didn't in my case.
Yeah, that reminds me of going to get a certain Chinese ruler. This
Good for you.
Yeah.
All right, are you done, Tomer?
No, I'm not done. Verses 19-21. Habel comments, quote, "This catalog of calamities includes both the standard examples of mass disaster, such as war and famine, and the hidden forces of death that invade from the underworld, forces already recognized as potential sources of suffering in 5:5-7. Here, these powers are designated as the demon, shed, and the roving tongue. Whether the tongue is synonymous with the demon or refers to another agent of death, it obviously roves the earth, shoot, in the same way as Satan in 1:7, but with more sinister intent. The demon is generally associated in the Old Testament with pagan rites, as we see in Deuteronomy 32:17 and Psalms 106:37.
That reminds me of that old saying that Jesus saves, but the devil does that thing with his tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
that
I will offer no comment on that.
Oh. Actually, it's shod, but like shed is the common Hebrew term. Well, where was I? He rejoins the entourage of death's destructive forces roaming the earth in search of prey. The tongue image recalls the hungry one in verse 4 and the portrait of Mot, death, in Ugaritic texts, the ravenous deity whose mouth reaches from earth to heaven. Gordis takes tongue as an ellipsis for tongues of fire, Isaiah 5:24, but this interpretation tends to ignore the parallelism with demon in verse 21b.
I don't know why, but that reminds me of the funniest T-shirt I ever read. I'm not gay, but $20 is $20.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, see, I was just having visions of the mythos of J.R.R. Tolkien, and Morgoth and the what was it? Shelob's mother. What was the name of Shelob's mother? Chat.
Oh.
I know it.
The one who devoured the two trees, the light of the two trees.
Yeah. And Angelion. No,
Ungoliant.
like
Ungoliant, yes.
Ungoliant. Yeah, Ungoliant.
She's like
Ungoliant.
darkness personified and consumes all in its her desire to basically eat everything in the universe. And
She's
did
also
concern-
spider, no?
her offspring were spiders. I think she's sort of beyond form, and also being sort of the void personified, couldn't be said to have a form properly, but if she did have one, a spider would be the closest thing to it.
Okay. On 23, you will have a covenant with the stones of the field. Rashi writes that Avanei Hasadeh are a kind of human, quote unquote, and writes that in Mishnaic Hebrew, these were called Adonai Hasadeh, or masters of the field, referring to human-like beasts, which some have taken as referring to an orangutan, satyrs, or even a werewolf. Others, yes. Others have rendered Bnei Hasadeh, the sons of the field, i.e. wild creatures, according to Pope, or take the Aleph in Avnei to be prothetic, according to Dahoud. While Septuagint omits the phrase, most commentators retain the stone reading, since the reading is preserved in most Elu translations. Hakham writes that Eliphaz blesses Job with the avoidance of two dangers that await those who leave cities, that he will not stumble on a stone, and that he will not be attacked by wild animals. Hartley writes that the stones of the field could be a real threat, for too many of them rendered a field infertile, as we see in Matthew 13:5. He notes that an ancient army sometimes punished its foe by strewing stones through the cultivated fields, as we see in 2 Kings 3:19 and 25. Clines calls it, quote, a remarkably anthropomorphic image for human assurance that one's soil will produce its crops richly, end quote. Seow writes that the covenant with the stones of the field reiterates the point in verse 22a about the ease from famine and devastation, while verse 23b concerning peace with the wild animals of the field corroborates verse 22b.
A werewolf. Oh, good lord. But yeah, the stones in a field, taking stones out of a field to plant it is definitely a thing. And we do have they have everyone throw a rock on the field, and then eventually it's unplowable.
Okay, are you finished now, Tomer?
No, I'm not. Finally, 26, Clines comments, quote, finally, the crowning blessing on a life protected by God is death at a ripe old age. Death before the proper time, compare 2011 and 2216, and being cut off before life has run its full course, compare 4:8, is a curse and a sign of divine disapproval. Death at the right time, eto, at its time, is no punishment, but itself a blessing, compare Psalms 1:3 and Proverbs 15:23. It is not long life as such that is the blessing, though that is promised to those who heed the teaching of the wise, as we've seen Proverbs 3:2 and 16, 4:10, 9:11, and 10:27. It is rather the patriarchal experience of being gathered to one's fathers, compare Genesis 25:8 and 49:33, that is the final blessing. If the obscure word kelach, in ripe old age according to RSV, means in full strength or with vigor unabated, a bonus to death at the right time is promised. It is death without the loss of strength and fading of powers that usually accompany extreme old age. Compare Moses at 120 years old when he dies, yet, quote, his eye was not dim nor his natural force abated, end quote, Deuteronomy 34:7, and contrast Ecclesiastes 12:1-7 for the gradual fading of one's powers.
Yeah, I was going to reference Ecclesiastes because this is very Ecclesiastes-esque, like everything will come in its own time. So there's this idea of a plan, and if you die at the prescribed time, everything is fine. It's not nothing bad. That's just the way things were gonna go.
Yeah.
But I just wish we didn't have to get quite so right at the end.
According to this, though, and I'm very glad it's not considered canon but according to this, the people I've seen with the greatest blessings of God and approval would apparently have been Dick Cheney and Henry Kissinger. Because those fuckers lived for goddamn ever. And gonna say, I don't, that's not a God whose approval I want.
Tomer? Tomer.
He's muted.
Talk amongst yourselves. Just a second.
Well,
Okay.
Since we don't have any Christians to read, I guess I'll
You have that book.
I do.
Lawrence, don't
Here.
stop lying. Okay.
Would you like me to read some Christians?
Not really.
Guess who's talking about Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Guess who's talking about Jesus? It's the ancient Christians again. Happy?
I'm
I
never
was.
Tomer.
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So the fathers in the writings on the section of the text mostly emphasize the validity of Eliphaz's words. He shows the greatness of God and the lowliness of human beings. Chrysostom writes that he declares that the wrath of God will inevitably punish the sinner when the right time comes. Gregory the Great said that he foreshadows the infidelity and disbelief of the Jews. And Ephraim and Inshodat said that it also demonstrates that human beings are always responsible for their sins and are punished because of them. Didymus, however, suggested that Eliphaz's principles reveal his narrow-mindedness and human limitations.
Well, at least we've got one Christian who noticed the conclusion of the book.
My unfinished sock says, don't read werewolves into the Bible. Like and share the stream instead.
Oh, there's got to be some better werewolf fiction than this.
Also, again, the fathers show in their commentary of these verses as an oscillation between a positive interpretation of Eliphaz's words and an accusation against his hostile and reproachful attitude toward Job, which shows a certain narrow-mindedness. Hesychius said that so on the one hand, Eliphaz's words are seen as a reproach or veiled slander against Job, or as a proof of his limited human perspective, according to Didymus. On the other, as a demonstration of God's generosity and protecting benevolence toward humankind, according to Chrysostom, Gregory, and Julian of Eclanum. Yes, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are moving on then to chapter 6.
Yes.
Lilandra, since we so rarely have you here, would you be able to read chapter 6?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Oh, we're still very quiet.
Yes.
How about now?
All right.
Should I?
I don't know. It's so quiet that we probably can't have you read.
Yeah.
Isaac, would you like to?
Gentlemen,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There's an echo.
There is an echo now. Guys, I have to run along. I am going to visit some family. And I love you all. I leave you the boys in Lilandra's capable hands. Chat. See you next time.
Thank you much. All right, Isaac.
I would love to have a connection that was.
Oh
good
yeah,
enough
you're
to let me
right.
just
Okay,
tap
I'll
out.
read. I get it. Okay.
But, like,
Chapter 6.
But wait, before you do that, I think maybe Landra should mute her because you sound like you're in a public room or something. Thank you.
All right. Anyways, chapter 6. This is Job's reply. Then Job answered, "Oh, that my vexation were weighed and all my calamity laid in the balances, for then it would be heavier than the sand of the sea. Therefore, my words have been rash, for the arrows of the Almighty," that's Shaddai, "are in me. My spirit drinks their poison. The terrors of God are arrayed against me. Does the wild ass bray over its grass, or the ox low over its fodder? Can that which is tasteless be eaten without salt? The answer is no. Or is there any flavor in the juice of mallows? My appetite refuses to touch them. They are like food that is loathsome to me. Oh, that I might have my request, and that God would grant my desire, that it would please God to crush me, that he would let loose my hand and cut me off. This would be my consolation. I would even exult in unrelenting pain, for I have not denied the words of the Holy One. What is my strength that I should wait? And what is my end that I should be patient? Is my strength the strength of stones, or my flesh bronze? In truth, I have no help in me, and any resource is driven from me. Those who withhold kindness from a friend forsake the fear of the Almighty. My companions are treacherous like a torrent bed, like swollen streams that pass away, that run dark with ice, turbid with melting snow. In time of heat they disappear. When it is hot they vanish from their place. The caravans turn aside from their course. They go up into the waste and perish. The caravans of Tema look. The travelers of Sheba hope. They are disappointed because they were confident. They come there and are confounded. Such you have now become to me. You see my calamity and are afraid. Have I said, make me a gift? Or from your wealth offer a bribe for me? Or save me from an opponent's hand? Or ransom me from the hand of oppressors? Teach me and I will be silent. Make me understand how I have gone wrong. How forceful are honest words. But your reproof, what does it reprove? Do you think that you can reprove words as if the speech of the desperate were wind? You would even cast lots over the orphan and bargain over your friend. But now be pleased to look at me, for I will not lie to your face. Turn, I pray. Let no wrong be done. Turn now. My vindication is at stake. Is there any wrong on my tongue? Cannot my taste discern calamity? Bringing it back with the tasting metaphor from before. But hey, you know what? I totally get it. Life sucks. There is no good end. There is no good life. Everything is terrible. Job is absolutely correct. It is better to die.
What version were you reading?
The NRSV.
Yeah, I think I accidentally clicked on the NIV, just the regular one. And many of the words were different. I mean, so you read vexation, which I quite like. And then it sounded like you said forceful.
I think I did at some point.
Yeah, it just reminded me, and I was sidetracked forever after that because of the tone that you were reading it. How forceful you are, Brad! Such a perfect specimen of manhood. So dominant.
But yes, forceful is definitely in here.
The JPS has like a different word that I've never seen before. But I can't remember. What verse is it again?
For the forceful one, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm currently looking over that. I remember reading it.
Which verse is it?
Yeah, I'm currently looking for that again. Oh, 25, verse 25.
Yes. How trenchant honest words are.
And somebody in the chat says Job is a stupid story.
I mean, I've already complained on Discord how I really hate that people like say that the Bible is stupid or something like that. I mean, it's just not a position that I really hold.
It doesn't sound like a scholarly opinion.
I mean,
But-
there is a reason why commentaries are written on it, right? I read the Hebrew of Job, and I can appreciate the poetry in it. Like, it's very different when you read the Hebrew in comparison to English.
See, that's your
Right.
problem. You appreciate poetry.
I appreciate ancient poetry because it's ancient.
I appreciate things because they're ancient, but if they're poetry, immediate minus 5 points.
Cope. So yeah, I mean, I think I can have something on it. If not,
Oh, there's a lot of cool stuff coming up in the next chapter too. But
Yeah.
the for this one, I mean, I said what I had to say. Yeah, I agree. Life sucks. Just let the man die already.
sorry. Let me just check about 625 real quick.
And he's saying that he's like not good enough,
Mine-
right? Like that's why like in verse like 11 he's like what is it, 11 through 13? Yeah, he's like, oh sorry, in 12. Yeah, is my strength the strength of stones or is my flesh bronze? Like obviously not. A lot of rhetorical questions in here in verses
Yes.
22 through 23. More rhetorical questions. Like it's just like the whole like he doesn't matter sort of thing. And
Yeah.
You know, prove me wrong.
Okay. So I'll start with verses 2 and 3. Hartley comments, quote, Job opens this speech with an outburst of emotion, wishing that there was a dramatic way to demonstrate visibly the enormity of his suffering. He wishes that a huge scale could be made available, consisting of 2 trays balanced from a center pole. On one tray, Job would put his vexation and pile on top of
sound
it.
just get
his-
shut off.
No?
Yeah, I still hear things just fine.
Yeah.
Looks like the stream is going.
Yeah, I can hit Homer.
Yep.
Yep.
Somehow it was my sound did just get shut off, and I can't figure out why.
Mm.
Oh well.
Okay. On one tray, Job would put his vexation and pile on top of it his misfortune. Vexation or grief in Hebrew kas is the anguish that the trial provoked, while misfortune, hawa, refers to Job's losses. To find the weight of his agony, he would have to put on the other tray all the sand of the seas. Then all would see that his grief is beyond measure and understand why his words are rash. This picture offers a marked contrast to the Egyptian image of weighing a deceased person's heart against the feather of justice. Job chooses the word vexation in Hebrew kas as the first word for his agony in order to respond to Eliphaz. Whereas Eliphaz has just said vexation, kaas, kills a fool in 5:2, Job retorts by admitting that he is indeed sorely grieved or vexed, but he denies that he is thus a fool. On verse 4, Habel notes that the association of arrows with pestilence, demons, and destructive ills is found elsewhere in the Old Testament, such as Deuteronomy 32, 23, and 24, Psalms 7, 13, and 38, 3, and 91, 5, and 6, and Lamentations 3, 12, and 13. He notes that considering the allusion to 5:2, it seems that the designation of Shaddai as the archer is a veiled reference back to Resheph in 5:7, who also bears the epithet of the archer in the Canaanite pantheon. Seow notes that poisoned arrows are widely used in the classical world, though such practices in war were forbidden by law. For example, Odyssey 1:161 through 164. Sorry. On verse 6, the sap of the mallow, in Hebrew, berir chalamut. The meaning of this phrase is unclear. The word rir is generally understood to mean something slimy or sappy, such as mucus or saliva, but the word chalamut is difficult. One version of Targum renders the albumen of an egg, based on chelbon, a rabbinic favored by Kara, Gersonides, and Habel, but others prefer to relate it to chelmon, which is the egg yolk, according to Sa'ad Gaon, Ibn Ezra, Nachmanides, and Kimchi and Sfono. Others relate it to the Arabic chalum, a kind of cream cheese, and thus Pope renders slimy cream cheese. Septuagint reads, in empty words, which Seow takes as a conjectural reading of a corrupted reading, berek chalamut, interpreted as in emptiness of dreams. Tur-Sinai also takes Chalamut to refer to dreams and renders the saliva of dreams. I love
We
it.
are talking about wet dreams, right? I mean, it's pretty clear
Well,
what
he says that he takes the
this
reference to be quote.
cheese is.
He takes the
Lot
reference
of
to be
creaming.
quote. Sorry. Yeah, but he takes the reference to be, quote, the poisonous saliva or secretion which the dream phantoms administer to him, and which is thus a dream mucus, quote unquote, in the literal sense, a mucus which Job is forced to swallow in nocturnal dreams.
Bro,
End
what is?
quote.
Oh my fucking god! Oh my fucking god! There's no shot.
And, I mean,
there's-
and you know what Simone, Tur-Sinai's fangirl has to say about it?
Yeah,
I love Tur-Sinai so much.
Oh my fucking god! There's no shot. Like, okay, like we already know that biblical scholars are sexually suppressed. I get that, but like, come on, man, keep it in your pants.
My unfinished song says, "Hail Aaron and Panel, and hail vexation." Thanks
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, so I continue. Many commentators take Chalamut to be a plant. Hakham notes that Chalamut is a plant mentioned in Mishnah Kilaim 1:8, and it has an abundant sap. He notes that the foods that Job is forced to eat during his illness are insipid, as a sick person finds all food abhorrent, as was in Psalms 107:18. Clines notes that in the Alalach texts, the term is cognate with chilimtu, which CAD renders a vegetable foodstuff. Seow writes that from the usage of chalamut in Rabbinic Hebrew, the word refers to the produce of a mucilagneous plant used not for direct consumption, but only as a preservative. Other readings include Vulgate, which reads, "Can a man taste that which, when tasted, bringeth death?" Hartley reads, "The milk of a weed." One version of Targum reads, "There is no taste for a physician to whom the sickness of death is clear." And another version, "There is no taste in the saliva in the fluid of dreams."
Listen, I know a thing or two about dream fluid.
Oh, man. I don't know if Isaac listened to that part, though.
I know which verse you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think
The,
JPS was translated as like calamus. Or
Mallow.
Mallow.
mallow
Yeah.
juice. But it's still like Tur-Sinai's saliva of dreams.
Yeah, because the Hebrew is like chalamut and
Chalom,
chalamot
yeah,
means
chalom, yeah,
is
yeah.
dreams.
Yeah.
So like there is like a similarity, I guess, but
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it does say the Hebrew meaning is uncertain, but I feel like they really kind of, these guys need to get laid.
I mean, I think Tur-Sinai had children.
yeah, I think it's the Sudarashi. He's like it could have something to do with dream, but like because the way the word is constructed with a dagesh in the lamed, so that it's I always forget the word. It's like doubled.
Chilbon.
Yeah, so it's like regular, like a dream is normally just written as chalom, but
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
kind of
chalom.
like chalum. So
Yes.
he sees that as being very different because of that.
Yes.
Or like different enough to not be like a cognate or whatever, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, on verse 10, that I had not denied the words of the Holy One. This line is controversial among scholars. The usual understanding of the verb kachad is to conceal or hide, as we see in Rashbam, Dorm, Hartley, Hakham, and Seow. Habel writes that Job has exposed, quote unquote, the decisions of God for what they are in Job's life. Seow notes that some commentators say that this line is a pious gloss that should be eliminated. In this view, someone wrote a marginal note that was later incorporated into the text, a note of pious relief, quote, "I have not denied the words of the Holy One," end quote. He notes that some interpreters take the line to mean that Job, for all his vitriol, is glad that he has not rejected God, or alternatively, that he will be relieved by death from the fate of such an unthinkable rejection to God. He notes, however, that kechad is used here to refer to suppression of truth, as is elsewhere the case in Job, in 15:18 and 27:11. Thus, he compares it with Psalms 119:49-50, where a psalmist is speaking of having hope and consolation despite affliction, noting that consolation resides in God's utterance, namely in that context, God's intention to preserve life. And he continues, quote, Job too finds consolation amid affliction, even as he writhes in unrelieved pain, as we see in verse 10b. But he offers, ironically, that his consolation comes from the fact that he has not suppressed utterances of the Holy One. Perhaps he means that he has been forthright in articulating the intentions of the deity, the Holy One, an epithet emphasizing transcendence. Or perhaps by utterances of the Holy One, he means not utterances by God, but utterances about God. That is, despite the fact that God is wholly other, Job would not suppress the truth about God. On 11 through 13, Clines comments, quote, the feeling of weakness, compare on 4, 2, and 5, under the weight, compare on 6, 2, and 3, of suffering returns. This is a psychic lassitude, no doubt felt physically as well. It is essentially a conviction of a complete lack of inner resources, compare verse 13. It is not that he suffers so badly from his physical diseases and is so enfeebled by them that he no longer sees anything to live for and can only hope for death as a relief from his sufferings. On the contrary, his self-worth has been so radically undermined by the absence of desert in his suffering that his psyche or spirit has been totally drained of strength. He is as good as dead physically. Death would be just an outward and visible sign of his inward feeling. On 14, the meaning of this passage is unclear. Clines notes that the whole verse is deleted by some, either as an explanatory gloss on verse 15, according to Forer, or because it is impossible to translate it with confidence, according to Hesse. He notes that Dorm, who translated it as, his friends has scorned compassion and has forsaken the fear of Shaddai, regarded it as a marginal gloss intended to explain that what follows, viz. The attitude of Job's friends as seen by Job. Habel writes that in Job's radical understanding of chesed, human loyalty is not necessarily the reflex of diving loyalty. He writes, quote, true loyalty, quote unquote, is expected from a friend when all other support systems fail, including faith in God. Job describes this loss of faith as forsaking the fear of Shaddai. Fear, yir'ah, approximates the idea of religion or traditional faith, on 4:6. Eliphaz contended that this fear of God, quote unquote, should be Job's confidence and consolation, in 4:6. Job responds that if Eliphaz were a friend, he would be Job's support, even if he no longer found strength in his past faith. His fear of Shaddai, quote unquote. A sufferer who has been attacked by Shaddai, the archer, needs more than traditional answers to sustain him. Thus, according to Job, the common denominator between true friends is not a common faith, but a genuine human compassion and loyalty which survives when all else fails. For Job, Shaddai has become his enemy, not his friend. On 15 through 17, Hartley comments, quote, Job points out the seriousness of the friends, offense against him through several picturesque metaphors drawn from the austere environment of the desert. Water is the most crucial item for traversing the desert. Every traveler stakes his life on finding some. The dry stream beds that cut across the desert floor witness to the rainy season when raging torrents of water sweep through these channels. In the spring, these wadi channels are filled by melting snow. The rushing water is murky, but as the snow disappears from the mountains, these streams turn to a trickle and gradually dry out. During the hottest days of summer, when the traveler desperately needs water, these streams have completely vanished. This analogy claims that the friends overflow with loyal kindness during the good times, but when the heat of trials comes, they dry up. They turn out to be undependable. On verse 19, Tema. Seow notes that Tema refers to the oasis town of Taima, a crossroads where 3 caravan routes converge at the western edge of the North Arabian desert. He notes that the spelling of Tema here is different from the usual spelling, which has an additional yud, Tema, as we see in Genesis 25:15, Isaiah 21:14, and Jeremiah 25:23, and is corroborated by 5th and 4th century Talmudic inscriptions from the region. Clines writes that if the book of Job is set in North Arabia, then Job's friends, who would themselves have traveled in caravan to visit him, would no doubt know the truth of Job's depiction from their own experience. On 22 through 24, Habel comments, quote, "In his interrogation of his friends, Job now seeks a clue to explain their behavior. According to an old Babylonian proverb, quote, 'Friendship lasts for a day, but business connections forever,' end quote. An alternative tradition holds that financial dealings soon cause the termination of friendships, compare Jeremiah 15:10. But Job has never asked his friends for a gift or a loan of any kind, nor has he asked his friends to risk their lives or wealth to rescue him from his adversaries. He therefore appeals to his friends to explain their attitude and specify what he has done to end their friendship. He demands to know what conscience error, shagi, he has committed to provoke their cold response. His error, in this context, can be viewed from 2 perspectives: the deed which caused the breach in his friendship with the friends, and the deed which brought about his tragic condition. Either way, Job is conscious of no act deserving of his present situation. On 27, Seow comments, quote, "Job likens what he perceives to be the dismissive posture of his friends to casting lots over orphans, who, together with widows, are the most vulnerable in society. The ruthlessness of these friends is evident in their merchandising of their companions. They who should have manifested steadfast love as friends in verse 14 are indeed treacherous in verse 15 and untrustworthy in verse 20. Now Job makes it clear that their treachery and unreliability are not just character flaws. Rather, he charges that their offenses are intentional. They cast lots and they deal. Job thus characterizes Eliphaz's effort as a devaluation and dehumanization of people, according to Newsom. The problem with Eliphaz's approach is that he dwells in moral universalities. He reflects on the plight of humanity in general, as we've seen in 4:17 and 5:7, but in so doing, he ironically dehumanizes the individual, and hence misses what it means to be in community. Eliphaz points to a proverb about vexation in general, but Job wants to talk not in generalities, but in specifics. My vexation and my calamity, or my beings, in verse 2. And finally, 29 and 30, Hartley comments, quote, "Job supports his position with a double rhetorical question that denies he has lied in any way. There is no false testimony on his tongue. Since his palate, chek, can still discern deceptive word, havot, he is fully conscious of the truth of his words. Hebrew chawa, or chava, refers both to the root of evil." Wait, I want to check real quick if I pronounced it correctly. Havot, sorry. It's hey, not chav. Hebrew hava refers both to the root of evil in the heart as expressed in wrong desires and to its consequences in falsehood and perversity. It also means ruin or calamity, as the punishment for such evil desire and falsehood, in compare 6:2 and 30:13. No doubt this word was chosen for both nuances. In this context, deceptive words is the meaning preferred by the many figures for speech, but this term at the same time alludes to Job's misfortune. Job's point is that since he can detect no wrong desire or deception on his part, he believes that the friends need to place some confidence in what he is saying.
Yeah. There's someone in the comments who's asking about the name Job, or he says Job or Ayub, but like in Hebrew it's Eov. And I always understood that it had something to do with like enemy, like because the Hebrew word for enemy is like oyev. Like it's very similar spelling. You just switch the two like vowels kind of around. But as far I did look into it a little bit, and apparently there is like it could also mean like someone who is persecuted, like someone who is hated in a sense, rather than
It's funny
Yeah.
that his parents
like
would know
enemy
that when they named him.
That
Well-
was my response too, and I didn't want to forward the question because the actual question was, why did the writer choose this name?
because the writer was writing fiction, and when you write fiction, you you give names to characters that represent their character, and that's found throughout the Bible. And it's a good question for people who think it's supposed to be literally historically true. Why do these characters have names that refer to their character? Yeah, I mean sometimes the story itself will have like a reason for the name, but it's a bit convoluted. So it could be like that could be an example of where there was an older story where someone has an established name and they're like, how do we explain the name in relation to the story? Example with like Moses, it's like, okay, why is he called that? And they're like, okay, because we're taken out of the water. Why does he have a Hebrew name? It like a name with a name that meaning in Hebrew. That's a good question, but yeah. I find there are quite a few characters like that where their name is literally like refers to their future.
I mean,
Which would
Yeah,
point
I mean,
which
Seow-
would point
Seow
to
has a more
the whole
fun-
thing being fictional because the names were deliberately chosen to match the character. Okay.
yeah.
So, in the case of Jonah, does his name in Hebrew mean fish food?
No, it means
It's
dove.
a dove.
Means what?
Dove.
Doug?
Dove. The
Dove.
bird. Dove. Yes. You know.
He was very moisturized.
Indeed, I guess he was.
Oh. Though I should note that Seow has a more like thorough treatment of Job's etymology, but he notes that whatever the true etymology of the name, the Hebrew form as it stands looks more like a derivative of the root Ayob, Ib, Aleph Yud Bet, to be enemy or hostile. Hence, one should compare the form with words like shikol, drunk, yilod, born, perhaps originally a verbal adjectival pattern, kutul. Thus, uyub, from which derives Eob, which is dissimulation. On the analogy of such terms, then, Eob may have been understood by ancient readers of the book as enemied, that is, one who has been treated as an enemy. Such an understanding is suggested in a pun in the Talmud, in Bava Batra 16a and Nida 52a, that plays on Eob and Oyev, enemy. Whether or not the pun was intended by the narrator, it is how an ancient reader would likely have heard the name, especially since Job accuses God of hiding from him, the absent God, and treating him as Oyev, as enemy, as we see in 13:24 and 33:10. He also notes that the wordplay is even more compelling if one assumes an originally archaistic spelling, Aleph Yud Bet, Ib, may be vocalized either as Eob or Oyeb, and he notes the orthography of 4Q Paleo Job C, where Job 13:24 is partially preserved in the text as Ib instead of Oyev, thus making the pun more poignant.
It's interesting how the English, Greek, whatever version like lost the vowel at the beginning.
So you're telling me there's this tradition of naming the character in such a way that he will reflect his own exploits. Gosh, that explains Magnum PI. I'm so naive.
Guys, I think it's time
Magnum PI.
to get Grandpa to bed.
Just get his beer sippy cup and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
good.
Okay.
But we're-
Okay. So the Christians, yes. Let me just check real quick. Yes. Okay, so in the writings on this final section of Job, i.e., 15 through 30, the fathers emphasize the present, unbearable afflictions of Job, which do not cause any sympathy in his friends, but merely raise their groundless accusation and unjustified reproaches. According to Didymus, Chrysostom, Gregory, Olympiodorus, Hesychius, and Julian. Only Ephraim gives a positive interpretation of the images used by Job and sees in the waters of the streams a symbol of the prophecies given to the people of Israel. That's it. not a
Any
whole
more
lot of Jesus
Christians?
talk. No. Not a whole lot of Jesus talk over here.
All
I'm
right.
trying to think of some other examples in the Bible where the name of the character is obviously referring to like their story later on, where it doesn't make sense in the birth narrative. But I can't really think of a
Ishbosheth?
good. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, man of. But apparently that was,
Machlon and Kilion
yeah,
also.
yeah, but
Maybe.
Ishbosheth is not his real name. His real name is probably like Ishbal, which is
Yeah, Mephibosheth or
it's just a nice.
Mephibal.
It's just a
Yeah,
name.
but
It's just for a different god.
yeah,
Changing
but
it to
then like they
Ishbosheth,
the name change was because
because Baal sound. How could he be named after another god?
but like also just because to denigrate him, if I remember
To
correctly.
denigrate him himself. Yeah, possible.
Are we ready to move on to 7?
Mm-hmm.
We absolutely should. There's some exciting stuff in here.
All right, Lalandra, did you get your sound issue fixed?
No.
Doesn't
I'm
seem
guessing
like
not
it.
because I can't hear a
No.
word.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
All
it
right.
possible for her to use your mic?
I will go ahead and read this one then.
Hmm.
Do not mortals have hard service on earth? Are not their days like those of hired laborers? Like a slave longing for the evening shadows, or a hired laborer waiting to be paid? So I have been allotted months of futility, and nights of misery have been assigned to me. When I lay down, I think, how long before I get up? The nights drag on, and I toss and turn until dawn. My body is clothed with worms and scabs. My skin is broken and festering. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle, and they come to an end without hope. Remember, O God, that my life is but a breath. My eyes will never see happiness again. The eye that now sees me will see no more, will see me no longer. You will look for me, but I will be no more. As a cloud vanishes and is gone, so one who goes down to the grave does not return. He will never come to this house again. His place will know him no more. Therefore, I will not keep silent. I will speak out in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. I am the sea or the monster of the deep.
Am
That-
I?
Am I the sea or the monster of the deep that you put me under guard? When I think my bed will comfort me and my couch will ease my complaint, even then you frighten me with dreams and terrify me with visions, so that I prefer strangling and death rather than this body of mine. I despise my life. I would not live forever. Let me alone. My days have no meaning. What is mankind that you make so much of them, that you give them so much attention, that you examine them every morning and test them every moment? Will you never look away from me or let me alone even for an instant? If I have sinned, what have I done to you? You who see everything we do. Why have you made me your target? Have I become a burden to you? Why do you not pardon my offenses and forgive my sins? For I will soon lie down in the dust. You will search for me, but I will be no more. And I love the way that they describe the finality of death here. There is no supernatural spirit that ebbs out of the body and goes wandering around, haunting people and all that crap. It's just the death is the absolute end. I do appreciate that.
So
it also seems to imply that God can't do anything to you after you die.
Right. I was going to say,
Yeah.
like, who exactly are we talking to here, right? Because he's talking earlier about, like, because from verse 12, I'll get to it. So he says, like, am I the sea or the dragon that you set a guard over me? So if he's talking to God, that would make sense. And if he is, then yes, by the end, when we get to him going, and he's talking about pardoning his transgressions and iniquities and all that stuff. And he says, "For now I shall lie in the earth; you will seek me, but I shall not be." So, it is kind of like showing like God might not be able to do anything after that, because he's talking about in this case, lying in the earth would be Sheol. It would be the grave. So the big thing I wanted to talk about is obviously the sea and the dragon.
Yes. The dragon. Yes.
Yeah,
the dragon is the Tanin. Yes.
Exactly. Yes, the Tanim. So you still have Yam, right? So you still have Yam,
yes.
and Tanin. So this is very important. This is a direct reference to the just probably some because they combine both Yam and Tanin, probably some later version of the Chaos Comp myth, which initially has this is all throughout, especially it's in Canaanite literature, Babylonian, it's fucking everywhere. The idea is essentially this sounds like a more direct reference to the Canaanite Baal myth, which has Baal essentially imprison Yam. We're gonna get a reference to this later in Job 38 too, with the bars and gates that hold back the sea. So when he's talking about setting a guard over me, this was essentially the idea where it's like if you lock up this cosmic sea entity, whether it be pictured as a dragon or as like just some watery chaos, this thing is locked up at the edges of the world, and there are guards making sure that the waters don't come out. That is the essential idea that is lying behind this. And while it's of course not explicit, it doesn't have to be, because we have a whole bunch of mythology from that region that we know exactly what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch of really great material on this, and obviously I wish Christy was here for it, but there is a ton of stuff. There is similar stuff in the Enuma Elish. There is also a similar myth in Egypt, but not exactly as not, I would say, not as cool. It is similar, but not as cool as the other ones. But there's a whole bunch of them, and this is ubiquitous throughout the ancient world. So the him going like, "Am I the sea or the dragon that you set a guard over me?" Like, this is he's comparing himself rhetorically to this to the cosmic watery chaos, and there is a shit ton of great stuff on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I absolutely love it. But this shows that this stuff was still like in their cultural milieu. They still thought about this stuff and talked about it. It wasn't as explicit. It didn't have to be as it didn't have to be written into their text, but they did kind of do that. Like if you're even just reading Genesis, you kind of get that feeling as well, that there was something there. And this was this specifically, the one that they're referencing, was not a creative one as in they didn't use this battle with the dragon to create things, but the battle is still there. So there's this idea of having this creative one and this non-creative one, and then in later years they'll kind of come together, and you would have some cultures who have a creative chaos, others do not. But either way, I love this stuff. I think this is the stuff that makes the Bible really fucking interesting. It's the stuff that they don't tell you. The stuff where you have to know about the culture at the time of the place, where you have to read between the lines. This is the kind of stuff that fascinates me. I
love that you and Tomer, neither of you believe a word of the Bible, and you both have respect for the Bible. I kind of learned it when I read the Quran, and especially when I read the Book of Mormon. It's hard not to reappreciate the Bible after reading the Book of Mormon.
I mean, the Book of Mormon is one thing, which was written a long time after the Bible. So you're comparing
but it's so
apples
bad.
to
It's so bad. Even I mean, I realize it's the original language. It was written in English. It's still there are no other translations of the Book of Mormon. It's in the original, and this is as good as it can get. But the Bible still reads better.
Yeah, because the intelligent people wrote it. Like,
well, yeah, they had to. They could read and write in the ancient world.
Yeah,
they were educated.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a scribe, like, you probably knew stuff. I mean, being a scribe is very rare. Probably.
Yeah, no, probably because sometimes they would just like copy symbols essentially.
Yeah. I mean, but that's more medieval, right? Or it's like it was.
Well, I know that it was happening definitely in like the definitely around the turn of the millennia, but I don't know. I guess I just figured it'd go back that far too. But either way, the actual like authors were absolutely educated.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm reading the original quote unquote Hebrew. So, I mean, for me, it's kind of a bias, but still, I can understand why this book is heavily like commentated upon, because it's difficult to understand what it means, but I can still appreciate like the poetry in that book, or at least like the language in that book, even though it's like intentionally trying to be archaic, but still like it's interesting, I guess. Okay, so I'll start with verse 1. Clines comments, quote, Job's depression finds its expression now not in anger so much as in painful lament over the drudgery of life, drudgery that is all to no purpose. Human beings, he says, generalizing his own experience, because that has become his horizon, are bound to hard service, in Hebrew tzava. The word is frequently used of military service. Compared dorm, is not man's life on earth a term of military service? The higher link to sachir could be a mercenary soldier, as we see in Jeremiah 46:21. But it is more probable that tzava refers to hard service of any kind. Compare Isaiah 42 and Daniel 10:1. And that the hireling is a hired laborer. Job has been compelled to reject the optimistic view of the wisdom teachers that the lot intended for humans is happiness and success. On the contrary, it is hard labor, quote unquote, and that not even for the satisfaction of some tyrant, as against Hesse, Habel, who thinks it is implied that God is the slave master, but for sheer futility, in verse 3. Like the work of the hireling, sachir, it is necessitous, often subject to abuse and without security. On verses 3 through 4, Habel comments, quote, The argument now moves from the universal plight of humans, verses 1 and 2, to the particulars of Job's situation. Job's miserable lot exemplifies and validates the opening axiom. It is not that he has expressed an unusual act of divine intervention in his life, but that he, like other humans, has been allotted a lifetime of hardship. Allotted, hof'al of nachal, means literally made to inherit. Thus, Job inherits the empty existence of all humans. Shav, emptiness, refers to the meaningless futility of life. Compare 1531, Psalms 89:48, which is 47. The empty months which Job inherits are apparently synonyms with the days of the hireling in verse 1. They are the appointed span of arduous life, a cruel and inescapable inheritance. The implication of this metaphor is not that humans inherit sin, but that they are heirs to divinely initiated hardship. Compare 5, 6, and 7. No specific duration for Job's suffering can be deduced from those verses, though the Testament of Job, 5:9, assigns Job 7 years of suffering. On verse 7, Clines comments, quote, God must have temporarily overlooked, Job says, not without a hint of the sarcasm that will become the dominant mood in verses 12 through 20, that his life is no more substantial than air, ruach, whether as breath or as wind. Sometimes life is compared to the exalted breath, Hebel, as we see in verse 16, Psalm 78:33, 39:6, 12, which is 5 and 11, 62:10, which is 9. Sometimes it is compared to a wind, usually ruach, especially, quote, a wind that passes and returns not again, end quote, in Psalm 78:39. The parallel with Psalm 78:39 is especially close. Quote, he remembered, Zachar, that they were a wind, ruach. But either sense is appropriate here. The point is that Job's life is bound to cease at any moment. His grasp on life is uncertain. The one thing certain is that he will never again return to his former happy state. He will never again see, i.e. experience, good or happiness, as we see in NAB, NIV, joy in JB, good days in NEB. This cry to God to remember the brevity of his life is no indirect appeal to God to restore him to health, contrast Forer, but an appeal to God to ignore him. That is the only relief of his pain that Job can envisage. On verses 9 and 10, Seow comments, quote, the image of a dissipating cloud in verse 9a illustrates the impermanent nature of human life. See also Hosea 6:4 and 13:3. Lest one consider that even a vanishing cloud might yet reappear or imagine that the language of clouds might suggest a heavenly ascent, the poet immediately clarifies that one who descends to the netherworld will not return. A similar idea is present in the inscription from Deir Allah in the Transjordan, which declares that one who goes down to the eternal house, quote-unquote, will not arise again. The verb ali being used in that inscription, as here in Job. It is an idea also evident in Mesopotamia, where the netherworld is regarded as a place from which one can never return. Job's point is that while life is impermanent, in verse 9a, death is permanent, in verse 9b. Those who die would not be able to return home. They would not even be recognizable when they had hitherto been familiar, in verse 10. On verse 12, the monster of the deep, Hebrew tanin. The word is found elsewhere in Psalm 74:13, 14:8-7, Isaiah 27:1, 51:9, and Jeremiah 51:34, all in the context of a sea monster. Thus, Septuagint reads dragon. Clines notes that older commentaries identify the Tanin with Tiamat, the sea monster of the Babylonian myth, whose defeat by Marduk is recounted in Enuma Elish. He writes, however, that it is widely acknowledged that the allusion here is to West Semitic form of the myth of the conquest of the sea deity, probably embodying chaos or sterility by the high god. According to the Baal cycle, Yam, the sea god, is destroyed by Baal. He writes, quote, whatever the precise symbolic value of the sea deities may be, and there is no hint in the Ugaritic texts that the conflict with them was directly connected with creation, as is the case with Tiamat in the Babylonian myth, Job's point is unaffected. He is God's prisoner, as if he were some threat to the sovereignty of God, end quote.
Yeah, it should be noted that there are different like regional forms of this. So like Tiamat would be just like another form of this same thing. So two different names from two different places about this thing. But again, we're talking about regional variations in the myth and the name.
We have 4 reticulated pythons here in the house, and two of them, the females, have some percentage, 50% or 75% Kalatoa Island super dwarf. If I ever had a purebred mainland retic female, absolutely would name her Tiamat. Am I pronouncing that wrong, Tomer? How do I say
Tiamat. What?
that? Tiamat?
Tiamat.
I'm going to put a Y in front of the A?
Listen, Tiamat's fine. That's how
Tiamat.
Americans say it.
Yeah.
TA, mate. Right?
Fucketh
Tia-
thee.
Yeah. Yeah, Tiamat. Tiamat.
I asked you to
YA,
correct
mate.
me, not mock me.
It's not a Hebrew
mean-
word, so it's not like you have to use Hebrew
Okay.
or orthography for it. But yeah, isn't like the actual word Tiamat like cognate with the Hebrew word for Tahom, like for the deep?
Yeah, that's another one. The thing. Okay.
Yeah.
There is. You can read like Carola Kluse's book on this. And also Robert. Is it Robert or Richard Miller? I forget which one it is. Is it? I think it's Richard D. Miller the second. I think he wrote a book on this as well. So there probably would have been multiple variations on this myth, and you have like different names for it, sure, but you would also have them like in their separated forms and like combined forms. And it all depends on what place you're looking at. But yeah, Tehom would have been another name for such a thing.
Oh, and I really like the Targum here. It reads, "Have I been condemned like the Egyptians who were condemned to be drowned in the Red Sea, or like wicked Pharaoh who was choked in its midst because of his sin that you appoint a guard over me?" And another version reads, "Like the great sea which pours itself out at the end, or like Leviathan who is ready to be seized, that you have been placed a guard over me." You have placed a guard over me.
Yeah,
If someone wants like an easy read on this, it is kind of outdated. But the initial work on this was done by John Day. It's called God's Conflict with the Dragon and the Sea. So you get a good idea of what's going on. There has been a lot of work done since, but this is like a much shorter read, and it's a lot more user friendly. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I would say that this verse also kind of reminds me of the one of the stories about how like God had to kill one of the Leviathans because if they mated, they would destroy the world. So he has to like put a guard on the one that's left, and in a sense, I think that's kind of where they might have got this idea from. The way it talks about it.
I don't know if I've read this comment. Shut up, Matt says fast like a weaver's shuttle, but that type of loom didn't come west from China until the Roman times. Am I wrong?
Well, maybe the words when we think of a shuttle as like the piece of wood with the string wrapped around it, which they shoot between the threads that you can move up and down. Maybe they didn't have that, but people were still weaving in their own way, and they were still people who were skilled at it would still pass something through a thread or a shuttle or whatever. So it might not be what you might be thinking of as a shuttle, but it's translated as shuttle. The word, I don't necessarily think that the original Hebrew word is. It's just something that a weaver uses to weave, and they would do it very fast. Yeah.
All right, and Tomer,
Yeah.
have you finished? Everybody, including your Christians?
No, I still have more.
Okay.
Okay, 13 for 14, Habel comments, quote, "The torments of the night introduced in verses 3 and 4 are elaborated here as divinely provoked nightmares. Comfort, in Hebrew Hakham, is that genuine empathy Job expected from his friends, as we see in 2:11. Earlier, Job had announced that his comfort would come from exposing the decisions of the Holy One, as we see in 6:10. Even Job's bed is unable to share the burden of his bitter complaint, compare verse 11, and so bear his cross. Sleep, when it comes, provides God with additional opportunities to harass and terrify his victim. Instead of dreams being revelations of God's good intent, compare Genesis 28:10-17 and 46:2-4, or disciplinary warnings, 33:15 and 16, they are destructive and overwhelming nightmares. Interestingly, Eliphaz uses similar imagery to describe his uncanny revelation experience, as we see in 4:12-16. What Eliphaz parodied, Job experienced as a traumatic reality. In the Babylonian Ludlul Bel Nemeki, the righteous sufferer obtains his message of impending deliverance by means of 3 nocturnal dreams. For Job, however, these dreams are evidence of God's torment, not his salutary intent.
Maybe the 3 dreams are the 3 friends that come over. Maybe he was hallucinating them all this time, all along. I mean, is there like a direct connection between the story of Job and that story? Is there a proposed connection between Job and this Enuma Elish story?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are like references that could point to Enuma Elish. Okay, I guess. I don't really know though.
Could have just been a theme or a trope that was in the area.
There's another word that I don't know how to say because I only ever see it written down. Did you just say Enuma Elish?
That's what I said, I think.
I mean, I say Enuma Elish.
Okay. Enuma Elish, yes.
And again, that's not a Hebrew word, right?
No, that's
Is it Sumerian?
It's Ugaritic, right? Or is
Oh, okay.
Akkadian, sorry.
Oh, okay, that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah.
It was Ugaritic. It would sound like Hebrew, probably.
Probably. Okay. 15 and 16, Seow comments, quote, since he is treated by God as the cosmic enemy, Job says he prefers strangling and death in verse 15. In contrast to what he prefers, Bachar is what he abhors, Ma'as, namely his body, which is disintegrating anyway, as he suggests in verse 5, Vayima'es. Still, he asks God to desist, on the grounds that he is but an insubstantial and ephemeral entity, and hardly the presumed cosmic chaos monster. Some interpreters think that this calls to God to desist is an outright rejection of God, a call for divine absence, so Clines. It is in fact a cry for God to stop paying him undue attention, perhaps meaning the potentially destructive attention, as an unthinking person finding a flimsy weave, compare verse 6, who cannot resist destroying it. Restating the point made at the end of the first stanza in verse 6, Job notes that he will not live forever, verse 16b. He wants to be left alone, since his days are but vapor, an insubstantial transient reality. Compare Psalm 39:6, which is 5, 78:33, 1444, and Ecclesiastes 2:23 and 6:12. The second stanza that ends with a reference to Job's ephemeral days, just as the first stanza ends with his fleeting days in verse 6, then ends. Okay, on 17 and 18, Hartley comments, quote, Job is so frustrated at God's hostility that he parodies 2 hymnic lines in praise of God's exaltation of humanity. When the psalmist was meditating on human smallness and apparent insignificance in contrast to the vastness of the universe, he marveled that God exalts man and pays attention to him. As we see in Psalms 8, 5, and 6, which is 4 and 5 in the Old Testament, and 144, 3, and 4. By giving humanity rulership over the created world, God has endowed humanity with intrinsic value, and God sustains his human creature by examining him and testing him. Every moment God is at a person's side to encourage and sustain him. The constant divine vigil reveals the supreme value God places on each person. These insights inspire the psalmist to glorify God. But the psalmist's ardor only deepens Job's despair. Job experiences God's vigilance as unrelenting oppression. So he turns these hymnic lines inside out. Instead of praising God with them, Job uses them as a complaint against God's continual effort to find and punish his every flaw. God's testing becomes a burden too heavy for him, a mere mortal, to bear. On verse 20, you who see everything we do. In Hebrew, Notzer ha'adam, literally watcher of men. Several commentators note the irony in this title. Habel writes that the term watcher is regularly used to designate God's salutary concern for his people, as we see in Deuteronomy 32:10 and Psalms 25:21. He notes that Yahweh is identified as the watcher of the human soul, Proverbs 24:10. From Job's vantage point, however, quote, the watching of God entails unjustified prying and probing of human lives, end quote. Likewise, Seow writes that the epithet may be an ironic reference to traditional understanding of the deity as a benevolent guardian. He notes that the epithet is the Hebrew equivalent of the Akkadian Natsir Napishti Ameluti, which means guardian of the human life. Hakham suggests that the expression may also be an allusion to the story of the Garden of Eden in Genesis 3:24. Quote, and Yahweh drove the man out to guard the way to the tree of life, implying that God, as it were, fears man and places guards against him, and this is precisely Job's complaint.
I like the idea of like, yeah, God is scared of what he creates people, then he sees what they can do, and he's like, what the hell? Kicks them out of heaven, and then later on they get together and try coming back, and he's like, get lost. I will sow discord among you so that you, because if you ever work together,
I will sow discord against you, and you will still pretend as if you have free will. I control you, bitch.
It's a good allusion to like actual, like the role of power, like, you know, a monarch, a despot, whatever. Like, he realizes that when regular people are working together can outsmart him, so he has to like keep them working against each other rather than against him.
Here's one of the things that mystifies me about religion. I know that religious practice promotes the same sort of endorphins that you would get from using addictive drugs. Even cigarettes will produce this kind of endorphins. That's why they're so addictive, right? What I don't understand is like when, regardless of how variable your definitions of alcoholism may be, I mean, there's a handful. I mean, I've been drinking beer in the morning during this show, but I don't, that maybe some people would say that was an alcoholic, just because I didn't wait until 5. But then I met people who do this weird thing where they drink alone, and they drink like to the point of like for the purpose of getting so blasted that they pass out for like days. And that's kind of freakish. It's like something that people wouldn't do. And then when I listen to religion, the way that people get involved with it, the way they let it take over their lives. And while I'm doing this show, I check other message boards, and I'm constantly being berated by religious lunatics from every direction. I'm wondering if they're not approaching it the same way as the worst alcoholics I've ever seen in my life would approach this. There's no consideration. Somebody told me earlier this morning that they showed me all the evidence I would need to see. I'm like, what do you think you showed? That the city of Nazareth exists? Did you stop there? Was that it? So I'm a little confused as to what is the appeal that religion has, because they think that I'm determined to not believe. If it's real, I'm completely open to it. I want to be completely open to whatever is really true. But if all you can do is lie at me, how does that convince me? Why? How could that convince me? And then I see them in their private circles and talking in their little chat boards or whatever about how they're promoting the make believe to convince each other. And I see that as being completely irrational, illogical. Why would you do it? Because then if it's a lie, you've got no way of detecting whether it's true or not.
Like the opposite of Alcoholics Anonymous, where they go to the meetings to encourage each other to drink more. Like I'm saying, like in church or whatever, like you encourage each other to like fall deeper into this thing where you need the religion to survive.
Yeah, it's like the positive feedback loop. That's what it seems to be, but an emotional version or variant of that. And I just don't get it. I can't imagine why you, and I've asked people many times on this. I mean, why would you want to be completely convinced of something that is not evidently true? I don't ever get an answer to that one. I do actually. I get the same one all the time. I'm going to believe what I want to believe. That's not a defense.
My final comment on this chapter is 21. Hartley comments, quote, Job persists in asking God, why do you not pardon my rebellion and pass over my iniquity? Then Job could leave him alone. The two words for forgiveness are as strong as the words for sin. Pardon is nasa, literally to bear. The concept is the responsibility of a lawless deed is accepted by another who carries it as a burden so that the offender is freed of that responsibility. The glorious revelation of Scripture is that God himself is the one who in his compassionate love bears human sin. The great Old Testament confession proclaims, Yahweh, Yahweh, the merciful and gracious God, slow to anger and abounding in loyal love and faithfulness, who keeps loyal love for thousands and bears or forgives nasa, iniquity and transgression and sin, but who will in no way clear the guilty. End quote. Exodus 34, 6 and 7. Job wonders why God has not acted as the bearer of his sin. Pass over, the second word for forgiveness, is he'evir, to cause to pass over, or take away. It means that sin is removed so far away that it can no longer produce any evil effects in a person's life. Job wants God to forgive him completely.
Any Christians, Tomer?
Yes. Where was they? Yes. So the fathers see in this second part of Job's speech both concrete meditations on human life and allegorical hints of the divine economy of salvation. Job describes the pain and fear of human life, according to Hesychius, and its shortness and ephemeral nature, according to Gregory. But also, he foreshadows the new world in Christ, according to Ishodad, the justice of our Savior, the corruption that will threaten the Church of Christ, and the eternal punishment of sin after the redemption of humankind, according to Gregory. And you know what? How Ishodad claims that this is talking about foreshadows the new world in Christ.
How?
Yeah.
He says, my eyes will begin to see good again. Here the author refers to the hope that is reserved for people in the new world. That's it.
It's like the chapters numbers, like they feel like every chapter has to have something to do with Jesus, and it's just like they're trying so hard to find something. It's like, okay, maybe this refers to the future times or something when people will see or something.
Another comparison here. When I was a kid in the 70s, there was an urban legend about how you could supposedly get high by smoking banana peels. And it just strikes me that building your religion through your interpretation of scripture is like trying to get high on banana peels. There's nothing there. So I don't get how this works, how people do this to their lives. Lilandra, did you I put in a message in the chat a little bit ago, but I didn't get an answer to that. Have you resolved did you resolve your audio issue?
Doesn't seem like it.
I guess not. I can't hear anything at all now. It's completely dead.
No.
I think it might be a connection issue rather than a sound issue.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah, it is a weird thing because as she pointed out, we did a live stream yesterday, and her connection was perfectly fine. So I don't know what's going on now.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I have more Christians, but I do want to note Gregory, who said that for the human eye is the pity of the Redeemer that softens the hardness of our insensibility when it looks upon us. Hence, as the gospel witness, it is said, and the Lord turned, looked upon Peter, and Peter remembered the word of the Lord, and he went out and wept bitterly. Luke 22:61 and 62. However, when the soul is divested of the flesh, the human eye does not henceforth see anything. The Redeemer's pity never delivers anyone after death, that it has not gracefully restored to pardon before death.
Good.
And finally, there another thing. At the same time, he foreshadows the final day of judgment. I mean, Job foreshadows the final day of judgment according to Hezekiah.
In what way?
Well, he writes, it is necessary, actually, to call that time morning, because it is entirely light and drives the night away from this life. You, quote, you judge them for the time of rest, end quote. That is, not for the torments, but for the delights and the rewards. He, who is now constantly worthy of the visit of God, will receive then his judgment for the rest, quote unquote. That's the Septuagint reading. He is judged with the righteous, that is received in heaven together with the righteous, so that it may be known, in accordance with them, what part is assigned to him and what is his destiny. Must he be placed with the patriarchs, or the prophets, or the apostles, or the martyrs? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So, do we want to tackle the next one?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Lawrence.
I can take it.
Thank you.
Then Bildad the Shuhite answered, how long will you say these things, and the words of your mouth be a great wind? Does God pervert justice, or does the Almighty pervert the right? If your children sinned against him, he delivered them into the power of their transgression. If you will seek God and make supplication to the Almighty, if you are pure and upright, then surely he will rouse himself for you and restore to you your rightful place.
Now, you are reading 9, right?
What? 8?
8.
Okay. It's funny how they matched. All right. Sorry.
If you are pure and upright, surely then he will rouse himself for you and restore to you your rightful place. Though your beginning was small, your latter days will be very great. For inquire now of bygone generations, and consider what their ancestors have found. For we are but of yesterday, and we know nothing. For our days on earth are but a shadow. Will they not teach you and tell you and utter words out of their understanding? Can papyrus grow where there is no marsh? Can reeds flourish where there is no water? While yet in flower and not cut down, they wither before any other plant. Such are the plants of all who forget God. The hopes of the godless shall perish.
Such are the paths.
Well, yeah. Wait, what did I say? Oh,
Maybe
I
it
said
says
plants.
he said plants.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. Such are the paths of all who forget God. The hope of the godless shall perish. Plant is before, so yeah. Their confidence is gossamer, a spider's house, their trust. If one leans against its house, it will not stand. If one lays hold of it, it will not endure. The wicked thrive before the sun, and their shoots spread over the garden. Their roots twine around the stone heap. They live among the rocks. If they are destroyed from their place, then it will deny them, saying, "I have never seen you." See, these are their happy ways, and out of the earth still others will spring. See, God will not reject the blameless, nor take the hand of evildoers. He will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy. Those who hate you will be clothed with shame, and the tent of the wicked will be no more.
Wednesday, Thursday, happy days. No, Monday,
I
Tuesday.
guess the only thing I really have to say about this, like it's exactly what you'd expect out of poetry. Ugh, lot of poetic language, lots of calling his words the wind. Um,
How can you go on about how you
uh,
respect and admire the Bible, knowing that big chunks
dude,
of it are
I
actually
fucking
written
hate
in verse?
I fucking hate poetry just as a rule. It's so annoying. It's so lame. So the thing is, it'd be a lot better if more people died. Uh, but they just don't. It's all complaining and whatever. Not even like an interesting way. Just different ways of saying the exact same thing. Um, it's very much like that Carlin bit where like all the Ten Commandments are you can boil them down to just two rules, right? Uh, not super different. So it's just a personal gripe I have with it. Um, Not something I'll be putting in any of the stuff I write, but it is true nonetheless that is how I feel. So yeah, it's just lame. Now the interesting part here is he does say that he reminds him that like, oh well, as long as you're faithful, everything's gonna come back to you. You gotta be upright and just. You gotta be like a good follower, right? But like we also have to remember that he was a good follower. And this still happened. So the point of this would be like, no matter what, you just gotta stay faithful and put a smile on your face and yeah, sure you can be mad about it, but don't ever be mad at God.
Yeah, don't blame God for anything that it would be his fault if he
Yeah.
were real.
Okay, I'll start with verse 1. Bildad the Shuhite. Seow comments, quote, "The name Bildad is probably related to the name Baghdad, attested in Old South Arabic, and appearing as a proper name in 7th century cuneiform sources as the name of a Kedarite sheikh. The element Dad, paternal uncle, found in many North Arabian names from the middle of the 1st millennium BCE, is theophoric. It is well known also in Aramaic and Palmyrene onomastica. The element bar is probably derived from bagar, attested in Old South Arabic, meaning to be upright or pious. So the name Baghdad may be explained etymologically as the pious one of Dad, or the paternal uncle. The Assyrian scribes, assuming the meaning of son of Dad on the basis of Aramaic, took the name to be a syncopated form of Bir Adad, as one source actually has it, Mebir Dim. Bildad is called the Shuhite, that is, someone from Shuach, which is known in the genealogical lists along with the Arabian tribes of Medan, Midian, Sheba, and Dedan as a son of Abraham and Keturah, as we see in Genesis 25:2 and 1 Chronicles 1:32.
So ancient North Arabia was the origins of Buddhism.
South.
No, I think this is north. No.
No, I said
Kedar?
south.
Oh, okay. I thought Kedar is north.
Kedar.
Yeah. Because
I mean, the name Bildad is related to a South.
I didn't know that Dud was the name of a god.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the
You were
paternal
asking
uncle-
about Isaac. You were asking about the origins of Did I hear that right? The origins of Hinduism?
No, that's a different thing.
on Dudism.
Okay.
Because Dud is like the paternal uncle.
Dod,
Dud,
not
depends on
Dod, not Dude, Dod.
Don't you say?
You're asking about
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking
Dudism?
Dudable.
No.
Whatever. Okay, Dod's not Dudes. Sorry.
I mean, there is a Dude in Hebrew, but it's like modern Hebrew, and I think it relates to like I forgot what it is actually.
Yeah,
I forgot.
Okay, maybe.
Kettle
Yeah,
maker,
yeah.
kettle maker,
Oh,
boiler
okay.
maker. Yes, that's Dude.
Okay,
That's
not good. Okay, it's different. Oh,
That was not my first ordination, but my second ordination.
yeah. I was gonna say it's a shame. I thought these ancient like Arabians were worshiping the dude.
Yeah,
Like-
I am a Dudist priest.
Wait, no, that's the Vad. Oh no, what am I thinking of?
Yeah, I think
Ah.
Doodle is related to David, but
Somebody's asking, is Dudism worship of the Big Lebowski? It is a religion that was founded on the movie The Big Lebowski. Yes, and you can get an ordination as a Dudist priest.
Ruben, my co-host, is a Judas priest as well.
Oh, I was thinking of boiler. Sorry.
Two people
Boiler.
on this stream are an ordained minister, if I'm
Good Samite.
not mistaken.
Myself and who?
Me.
Ah, of course.
Okay,
Right.
on verse 3, Habel comments, quote, "The opening topic statement by Bildad is significant in the development of the legal metaphor in the book of Job. Eliphaz had recognized the principle of reward and retribution operating in human lives and maintained that the innocent never perish." 4:7-9. Now, for the first time, Bildad explicitly raises the topic of the justice, mishpat, of God's rule. Bildad discerns in Job's outbursts of anger and anguish substantive attacks on the doctrine of El's righteous rule. For him, the nature of the god El and the perversion of justice are totally incompatible. Compare 34:10-12, 16-19, and Deuteronomy 32:4. Unlike Elihu, Bildad does not at first explore the doctrine of divine justice. Compare verse 20, but immediately interprets Job's situation in the light of that doctrine. For traditional wise men like Bildad, justice implies a process of divine management which preserves a consistent pattern of reward and retribution. He therefore looks for something in Job's past which might offer a logical ground for retribution and selects Job's children as the most likely target in verse 4. Having raised the theme, however, Job makes it a prime issue of concern and moves the focus from divine justice in general to the problem of litigation with Job to establish justice for his personal case. See on 9 verses 2, 15, 16, and 19, 13, 17-23, 31, 35, and 37. On verse 5, Clines comments, quote, "Bildad nowhere in this speech expressly says that Job is a sinner, but what else can be inferred from his doctrine? Nevertheless, it is a sign of delicacy, not always recognized in Bildad, that he will not make an issue of Job's sinfulness, but will try to direct Job toward God and toward the future. Bildad's advice is first that Job should seek, Hebrew shachar, God. In prophetic language that often involves repentance, compare Hosea 5:15, in prophetic language that often involves repentance. In Job, the notion of repentance may appear in 22:23, but here the verb has a more general sense of pray or worship. As become normal from the exile onward, the phrase to seek Yahweh referred not to a particular act, but to the habitual practice of the devout. The second term Bildad uses is seek favor, Hebrew hitchanen, a verb often associated with pray, palal hitpael, or call upon God, kara. It is a verbal request for mercy, not so much for God's free, undeserved grace, but for a just recompense for right behavior. According to Forer, The favor of God here is a reward for righteousness, not a pardon for penitence, according to Anderson. On verse 7, Hartley comments, quote, Bildad seeks to motivate Job to seek God. He is stating here the positive side of retribution. Righteous behavior is rewarded with prosperity. Your beginning, Rashid, refers to the first stage of Job's prosperity. And your future, Acharit, refers to the last and final segment of his life, beginning with his restoration. These two terms together encompass the totality of his life. Even though Job has lost everything, he will receive a restoration that will far surpass his former greatness. Through Bildad's words, the author is hinting at Job's restoration as unfolded in the epilogue, 42:10-17. In a few places, the author uses the speeches of the friends to allude to the outcome and thus to heighten the contrast between their pious platitudes and the reality of God's treatment of Job, his faithful servant. The friends will be caught by surprise at the fulfillment of their promises without Job's following the conditions they recommend.
So, having his children replaced with new children that he didn't raise,
but better,
that are not the children that were taken from him,
but are better.
They are better. And how insulting is that?
No, they are better. It's good. They are better.
Okay, your kids were just taken and killed. They bring you strange kids, say these are your new kids, and they're better than your old kids that we killed.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a parent responding to that positively.
Well,
they're better because
you do realize you do realize what the context is.
Maybe I don't. Explain.
We don't have the modern understanding of empathy here.
Yeah.
The sin of empathy.
Yeah. Okay. On verse 11, Habel comments, quote, The tradition from antiquity cited by Bildad is a proverbial truth about Egyptian flora with which the poet is familiar. This familiarity does not indicate an Egyptian origin for the book, but the breadth of poetic language the poet has appropriated from the wisdom traditions of his day. The terms gomeh, papyrus, and ahu, reed, are probably Egyptian loanwords. Compare Genesis 41:2 and Exodus 3:2. The truth presented is thus not only archaic but exotic, representing a variety from a distant land renowned for its wisdom and symbols of enduring antiquity. The point of this proverb from nature is apparently the need for humans to have a continuous source of life, just as papyrus requires water. Whether that source is wisdom, integrity, compare verse 20, or God himself is not specified. The immediate context suggests an allusion to the wicked, who are soon destroyed because they lack the life that derives from being righteous.
How about now? How about now? Can you hear me?
Wait.
Oh, yes. Yes, now you're good.
Yes, we can hear you, but there's still an echo.
Oh.
There's an echo.
I could do, I think it's you echoing me, Tomer.
I don't hear an echo.
I'm just kidding. Let me...
Anybody else getting an echo from Lalandra?
Well, now. No echo.
So I was hearing one before. I'm not hearing one now.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, now I don't hear it. Yeah, now I don't hear it.
Okay.
Great.
So Alondra, how are you now that we hear you?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?
I gotta know, what did you do to fix it?
I restarted everything, even my modem.
Okay. Wow. All right. All right, Tomer, continue.
Yes. Verse 14. What they trust in is fragile. Masoretic text reads, Asher yakot kislo. The exact meaning of this phrase is unclear. The word yakot, from the root kuf vav tet or kuf taf taf, I somehow forgot to add more stuff after this. So the Septuagint reads, For his house will be uninhabited, and Vulgate, his folly shall not please him. In Targum, whose hope gives way. Traditionals interpreted yakut to mean to cut off, based on passages like Ezekiel 16:47, Kim at kat 20:43, Vanakutotam, and Psalms 95:10, Akut bado. This meaning is favored by Clines and Hartley. Sa'adia Gaon rendered Yakut as gossamer, i.e. sun thread or summer strands. In Arabic, Habel esh Shams. This meaning is favored by Hakham, Habel, and Seow, and adopted by JPS, NEB, NAB, based on the parallel with the spider's web and the Aramaic kite, summer. Compare Hebrew kites. Tur-Sinai suggested reading Yakut as water hole, based on the contrasting passage on the prosperity of the just in verses 16 forward, which speak of an abundance of water, and thus takes Yakut from Arabic wakat, as a hole in which rainwater collects. Thus, quote, the security of the evildoer is like a trough in which water collects during the rainy season, only to evaporate when the weather becomes hot, end quote. Other suggestions include amending Yakot to kurim, threads, according to Beer, Dom, and Horscher, kavim to threats, according to Gordis, kurei kayat, threats of summer, according to Bud, kishrei kayat, according to Peters and Forer, but these are not widely supported.
Did you say what did the water collect in?
Trough is a trough.
Yeah. Or trough,
I said
yeah.
trough. I read trough.
Yeah.
Trough.
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 Yeah,
trough.
trough, I think. I think trough
Trough.
is the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trump, right.
OUGA.
No, it's actually, you can say tro. You can,
Tro?
tro. I mean, what Merriam-Webster says, by bakers often. So is that like...
Bakers say tro? Like,
Tro.
Is it like a wooden, like a piece of wood that you put the bread on? I think that's a different thing.
No, I
Listen,
mean...
If you're talking about
English sucks.
if you're talking about
I
the thing
know.
where, like, if you're talking about the thing where horses drink water from, that's a trough.
Okay.
Fair is fair. You make
I guess
fun
that's
of
what you're
Arn's Hebrew.
I mean, but that's a given, right?
Yeah,
He does. I mean, at least I know English, roughly.
Roughly.
Okay. 16 and 17. Clines notes that several commentators have tried to identify the exact type of plant referred to, such as a vine or a gourd, according to Bud, some noxious plant, according to Dum, a creeper or climber, according to Forer. He writes, however, that it does not matter what kind of plant this is. Still, Hartley suggests that the plant is a tree, for the righteous are compared to a stalwart tree in various passages, like olive tree in Isaiah 14:7, which is 6, and a cedar in Ezekiel 17. He writes that a tree often grows well under adverse conditions, and if a tree is cut down, a new shoot may sprout from its stump. Thus, he argues that the tree is, quote, an excellent metaphor for the sturdy character of a righteous person, end quote. Seow writes that the plant seems to be antithetical to the water-deprived plants in the verses immediately preceding. He writes that, quote, such a dichotomizing of examples is consonant with the pedagogical method of the sages, who talked about 2 paths to follow, 2 women to choose from, 2 houses to enter, and so forth. So especially in Proverbs 1-9, end quote. He notes that this polarity is reminiscent of the disputation literature in the Babylonian wisdom tradition, as in the opposition of the tamarisk and the palm. He further writes, quote, the overgrowth of the moist plant, a growth beyond the confines of its garden, verse 16b, echoes the prosperity of Job, whose riches burst forth beyond his house, quote unquote, and all that belonged to him in 1:10. Since the plant without water represents the miscreant, the moist plant no doubt refers to the opposite of the miscreant, namely the fearer of God, quote unquote, as Job is supposed to be. This plant even grows over a heap, its roots entangled around that heap. The mention of roots echoes Eliphaz's parable of the fool that takes root, the roots in that case being a figure for progeny, in 5:3 and 4. Despite the initial rootage, however, the eventual outcome in Eliphaz's parable is not positive, as we see in 5:5 and 6. Bildad's moist plant is certainly unlike Eliphaz's fool of a plant. Indeed, Bildad's moist plant, like the well-irrigated plant representing the pious in Psalm 1, is presumably the model one should follow.
I love how they celebrate being unreasonable, and they praise it.
And finally, on 20, Habel comments, quote, Bildad's recapitulation of his teaching, drawn from an appeal to ancient tradition, embraces El's attitude to both the blameless and the evildoer. The former will not be abandoned in their time of disaster, and the latter will not be sustained in their sin. Bildad's teaching of reward and retribution is thus substantiated by the analogy of two types of plant life, which illustrate the principles of premature demise and posthumous survival. Bildad's words, however, have a biting edge. Job is indeed blameless, as we see in 1, 1, and 8, but his sense of rejection by Shaddai led him to spurn, ma'as, any offer of living forever with an insidious spy like this god, 7:16. Yes, ancient Christians, let's see. So, the father's interpretation of Bildad's words is, in general, unfavorable. Even though they can discern a certain amount of correctness in his assertions, like Chrysostom and Julian, they cannot help notice his narrow views, according to Ephraim, and worldly mentality, according to Didymus, which places human happiness only among material goods and riches, according to Olympiodorus. And in the second part of Bildad's speech, the comments of the fathers tend to give greater emphasis to the correct views and moral remarks contained therein, even when they appear to be fairly superficial, according to Julian, Didymus, Philip, Olympiodorus, Gregory, and Ishodad. The righteous are portrayed as a dried-up herb, according to Philip, destined for death, according to Olympiodorus, whose hypocrisy deceives, but only for a time, according to Gregory, while the righteous do not forget God, according to Hesychius, who brings them back to life, according to Ishodad.
I think you meant hypocrisy, but
No, hypocrisy, what the fuck do I care?
it's fine. I just like you highlighting like the strangeness of English, but
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense.
I mean hypo means low. I don't know. I don't know
Hypo,
if it's
yes.
but I think in hypocrisy it's probably like a different. It's got nothing to do with the word hypo. Yeah. It's not like low Jesus or something like that, you know, hypo Christus or something.
Hypocrisis.
Oh,
I mean, that's the Greek origin. If I remember.
Oh, okay.
Just to be
No, I
clear,
mean,
hypocrite, like would have it literally means actors. But the like when you're calling someone a hypocrite, it means they're basically like, you know, acting in one way, but they're actually another way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we use it modern times. But I'm saying the etymology has got nothing to do with like hypo, as in like low, like low sugar or low. Low heat or whatever.
Hupo would be like under.
Under. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I got a question too about why do we have this prejudice for only reciting ancient Christians? How come you never cite Kenneth Copeland or Paula White?
Because they suck.
I mean, there is.
It's kind of ancient in another way.
There is another book similar to the Ancient Christians, which is but it has the Reformation period, which I could bring, but like it's going to kind of prolong. I don't know, maybe. I could like add it, but maybe on a different book. Though I should also note, Seow notes that early Christian interpreters who tended to see Job as a hero of faith portrayed Bildad and the other two friends as heretics and tormentors of Job, who prefigures Christ. Jewish interpreters, though, were typically kinder to their friends. Medieval Jewish commentators identified Job's friends with various philosophical positions. Thus, Maimonides and Samuel ibn Tibon associated Bildad with the philosophical position of the Mu'tazilite Muslims, who believed that God inflicted suffering on those who did not deserve it in order to increase their reward in the hereafter. In Western literature, the Christian bias against the friends is dominant. Thus, in Herman Melville's Moby Dick, which manifests influence of the Book of Job, Bildad, the co-owner of the ship Pequod, practices a kind of utilitarian piety to ensure that his ship would have a prosperous journey. In William Dean Howell's A Hazard of New Fortunes, Bildad becomes a nickname for an unkind friend.
I got a question in the comments, and Lawrence, I don't want you to answer this too quickly. Let's give other people a chance first. Jojo Freelancer KUP says, could Job be a real historical person?
Short answer, no. Long answer, fuck no. No.
Look, okay, Lawrence, do you have a better answer than fuck no?
Yes, I do. No.
Oh, that's
no, niet, nine, all the fucking languages.
不可以.
Brilliant. All right, are you done with? Are you fresh out of Christian, Stomer?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. All right. So, Lalandra.
Okay. Let me open it here.
No, actually, we can't continue, because
really?
I haven't finished my commentary on 9.
Are we on 10 now?
No,
Then,
we're 9.
After you're done.
Also, are we? Do we have the time to go through the chapter and the commentary? Even if
No,
we
I
had
don't
it?
think we do. I don't think
No,
we do.
don't. Okay. All right then. I was really eager to hear my wife read one of these, but that's fine.
I'm sorry about the technical issues.
Yeah, well, you didn't do it. We can't figure out what did it. But
It must have been Tomer.
Yep.
I blame
Excuse
Tomer.
me.
All right. Well, then this is a quandary. We will be meeting this Wednesday. Yes.
Yeah, I guess Wednesday works.
Okay. So we'll be doing Job 9 this Wednesday at our usual time of day. Do we have any ideas about next week?
Wednesday maybe. I think Wednesday will work.
Oh, you mean the week?
Yeah, this Wednesday, but then maybe we can do the Tuesday after, maybe, or Thursday or whatever.
Because I might be in another town snake handling.
Is that what the kids call it today?
Spicy snake handling.
Yeah.
Before we go, go ahead.
Yeah.
Before we go, what do we think? The Job so far, great ancient history, great ancient poetry, or stupid? What do we think?
Well, that's very limiting.
Okay. Is there another option?
Yeah. I would. It's certainly not great history. Certainly not great poetry.
I think the Hebrew is it's not. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's definitely interesting.
I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to say about Job, but that's not because of the contents of Job. That is mostly about stuff surrounding Job.
I don't know. I kind of like the language.
Yeah, but it's interesting to look at trying to figure out, for example, when it's written based on the language used and the sort of we have God is kind of, he's still seen as the only God, but we still have his the sort of divine council or angels are given a bit more personality, even if they're not they don't have the ability to go against him, they're still listening to whatever God tells them to do. But here you literally have Satan saying, I was walking around and God's oh, tell me what happened. And it seems to be it's in the development of monotheism.
If it's poetry or metaphorical or whatever, what moral lesson is it teaching?
Well, the thing is, if we place it at least in dating, if we place it to sometime post exile, then it would be kind of the no matter how if you're speaking to this post-exilic diaspora community, they're trying to rationalize how the exile would have been allowed to happen. So they are kind of looking at Job as this moral character that that in many ways can represent the people, where it's like, oh well, we were, even if we do things right, things will still go wrong for us. And throughout all the bullshit that you have faced, you still gotta give it up to the Lord.
Da Lord.
Yeah.
I think a better summary was given by Elwood Blues. It wasn't lies, it was bullshit.
No.
Well, I kind of get what Lawrence is going at there, that you could still do everything right and bad things happen to you. But God was the source of the bad things, and they were for arbitrary reasons. And also, if we are looking back and judging from the future, but I kind of don't mind if people judge our culture by in the future either, and say this was not moral, like slavery wasn't moral, like the portrayals of Jews in Shakespeare wasn't moral.
Yeah.
Like, so it's fine. Like, I get the art argument, but also, like, from a cultural and moral standpoint, I don't find this, like, personally an edifying story. I think it's like how it's very focused on the patriarch of the family, and how like killing his family and putting all these things on him, and then he still endured it. So, like, everybody else in the story is a throwaway person. Were they righteous also? Did they deserve to die? Just because it's the patriarch suffering, is it more important? Like, it doesn't treat everybody equal, and like, everybody's suffering, that's this whole righteousness thing, is how righteous the patriarch is in this family. So it just didn't ring very moral to me.
Yeah, also, like, I think, is it like the overarching, like, moral of the entire book is like, don't question God. God works in mysterious ways. Like,
Yeah.
we question, why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to bad people, and we try and think of reasons, but ultimately we don't know, and we shouldn't be, like, judging God.
We should judge God.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what they're trying. That's what the lesson is of the
Yeah.
book is, like, trying to teach.
Yeah.
We're still several chapters away from my favorite part of this, where the arguments just get deplorably bad.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we haven't really had, like, God interceding and being like, don't question. Over here, it's more like you're supposed to, I guess, feel bad. You're supposed to maybe identify with Job at this point and feel like, he has a point. And then the next chapters are going to be like, no, you're wrong. And so it makes you feel guilty for aligning yourself with his way of thinking properly.
I feel like it's like Joe. You feel bad, like a kid would feel bad if their parent killed their puppy, but that just like getting them a new puppy and telling them, well, don't cry that you lost your puppy and just trust me. I just don't find this in this story very enriching or edifying at all.
Share that. Yep.
Even from a metaphorical standpoint.
All right. So see you guys this coming Wednesday, and there's of course
Perhaps.
nothing more to say.
No, there
today.
definitely
no.
is more to say. You should join the Discord, my Discord, the Behold Network Discord. The good
Hey-ho!
one. There are no other Discords, only Zool. So,
Thomas, did you have like an epilogue or something?
Yes, I do. Anyone that uses drugs is not your friend. Drugs can and will kill you. Don't be afraid to turn to your priest, rabbi, administrator, your moms and dads, and your teachers, because drugs can kill.
Just
And
say
if you
no.
do drugs, you go to hell before you die.
Yeah.
Wait,
And
which
if you run
age
out
of
of drugs,
is this?
Turn to your priests and rabbis and parents.
I
They'll
love
give you
drugs.
more. All right. Good night.
Do a lot of drugs.